Good morning,
We are
everybody.
guided by the belief that
Oh, now it's
is a
afternoon,
right,
so
and
good
every
afternoon,
Nigerian
ladies
should
and
have
gentlemen.
access to affordable quality healthcare.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. I love that part of the hall, so I would expect that you also respond from here. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's really good to see you. You all look fantastic. Thank you all for coming. And we're sure you've had a great time meeting, whether old faces you've not seen in a long time or new people entirely. That was the point of the networking we had from 11 to 12. Good to have you all here. And my name is Wemimo Adewuni. I'll be co-moderating the event today with Michael.
Yes, my name is Mike. Yeah. Okay. My name is Michael Atima. I'll be moderating with this event with Wemimo. Thank you for coming.
So let's start by rating your networking capacity. What is my name? I said, oh, wow. That's really good. So I hope you pay attention to the names of people that you meet here today. Beyond getting their cards, get to meet them so that you can start conversations with them later on. It's good to have you all here. Now, we'll have another networking session later on, and would expect that you again meet with new people and relate with them, particularly for journalists. Would love to see the stories that you tell and the impact that these stories have. We're starting right away.
Yeah, so before we kickstart the event for today, I want us all to bring out our phones, take a selfie with the person seated next to you, and let's use this hashtag Sojo Nigeria, SOJO Nigeria, and let's share on all social media platforms that we're happy to be here to witness this closeout event. So can we just quickly do that? Like, let's just take selfies, smile. We don't have phones.
I already see the selfies are starting. So take a selfie with the person you are sitting with, ask for their Twitter handle, tag them, and use the hashtag Sojo Nigeria, SOJO Nigeria. I'm going to be checking the hashtag, and then I would acknowledge everyone who tweets next time we come up here. The hashtag again is SOJO Nigeria, Sojo Nigeria. Yeah. You're looking all very good.
Okay, thank you so much. So for the welcome remark, we'll be calling on the MD of Nigeria Health Watch, Vivian Ihekwazu, to come give us a welcome remark. Please, let's put our hands together for.
Please, let's make a welcome by putting our hands together as we welcome the MD to give us a welcome address. All right, we can repeat that round of applause. She's coming up now. Let's put our hands together.
Good morning, everybody. It's, I think for us, this has been a long journey, and to know that we're standing here finally during this event is really, really exciting and such an honor. And we're really, really pleased to have you here all with us today. My name is Vivian Ihekwazu. I'm the Managing Director of Nigeria Health Watch. As you know, you've gotten to know our organization over the past 3 years. We're really excited this morning to have some really distinguished guests join us for this closeout event. I'd like to acknowledge a few people here. I know all of you are all welcome. I'd like to welcome Mr. Buki Ponkley, the CEO of NAN. Welcome, thank you for being here. Alex Obodo, the head of news at Dream FM. Welcome, good to have you here. Israel Tijani, Director Human Rights, Director from Human Rights. Welcome. Dr. Laz Ude, CEO of Talk Niger. Chinedu Onwebunam, Managing Editor of Guardian, you're welcome. Sheyun Durajaye, really pleasure to have you here, Editor, Social Voices. And our very capable Rona Maya, Manager, Africa Initiative for SJN. We're really happy to have you here. And welcome to all of you else who are here with us this morning. Today, we're gathered, we're calling it kind of like a closeout. And we're calling it a closeout because it's the first phase of the work we're doing and, working with newsrooms and instituting this Africa Solutions Journalism Africa initiative. But for us, it was also a pause and reflect on the work that we've done so far and that we've implemented so far with the support of the Solutions Journalism Network. And it's an occasion that enables us and allows us to celebrate the achievements, learnings, and inspiring stories that have emerged from this transformative initiative so far. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of the newsrooms, all of the editors who had a leap of faith when we reached out to you, asked you to send us some journalists to work with. I remember when we first started our initial cohort, and we were contacting different newsrooms and trying to explain what we were trying to do. And of course, then it wasn't, so easy because, there is a way that news is often reported. And, what is this solutions journalism that you're trying to do, and how will our team work with you, and how will you support? So from the very beginning, we had some editors and some newsrooms that really took that leap of faith in sending, some of you journalists who are here with us today to be part of our first cohort. So we're really, really grateful for them, for availing the journalists for us to work with. And as I mentioned in my introduction, we were ably supported, of course, by our Africa Initiative Manager, Rona Meyer, who many of you, I'm sure, have come across, who really was there from the beginning and sort of supporting us and sort of mentoring us as an organization also in some of the key practices of solutions journalism and understanding the different pillars, which all of you, I'm sure, would have been part of learning with our different team members who supported you. And it's very important, and why we even did this in the first place, because I often hear people switching off from listening to the news. Often when you look at the news, you listen to the news. It's a similar format. News, when they say, if it bleeds, it leads. So if a news story is, sharing problems, which often it does, people sometimes get tired of listening to those same problems over and over again. And you can be despondent that nothing is going right. But, using a solutions-oriented approach to reporting the news, because, all of you here, media, you are critical in shaping the tone of the news and in also shaping the way people see solutions and problems being solved. So using the solutions-oriented approach, it's a different way of reporting news. That's why when I mentioned initially, some newsrooms were skeptical about this new way of reporting news. But ultimately, what exactly is it? How do we show people that they actually are organizations, individuals, communities, finding solutions to problems? And how do people ever get to know about them if they're not reported? And that's why for us, this initiative has been really, really important in trying to shape the tone and the way that news is reported in Nigeria and further afield. So it wasn't just Nigeria Health Watch that implemented this. We also had Science Africa, who did the similar thing in 3 Eastern African countries. And the idea really is how do we change the narrative? How do we change the way news is reported, not just in Nigeria, but also for the global audience? How do we change the narrative and the way we report and see ourselves? And that's why the work you do is extremely important. Because news has the catalytic impact on changing the way people deal with situations. So this shift towards solutions journalism is instrumental in addressing this growing trend of news avoidance, as was recently highlighted by the Reuters Institute of Journalism, where it's reported that often people don't want to watch the news or listen to the news because it's all negative. So this is a way of changing that and looking at those norms that people are used to in terms of how news stories are reported. And through our collaboration and the generous support of Solutions Journalism Network, this project has trained and supported newsrooms and freelancers in enabling them to produce impactful stories that inspire change and offer hope to our communities. So today we're here, it's an opportunity to not only share valuable insights and experiences gained over the past 3 years of project implementation, but also amplify the remarkable work and stories that have emerged from this initiative. The impact of the Solutions Journalism Africa project can be witnessed in the impressive numbers it has achieved. We have collaborated, we're proud to say so far, with 30 news organizations, which have formed 3 cohorts of newsrooms, engaging over 90 journalists. Moreover, we have supported 15 fellows who have been instrumental in amplifying the practice of solutions journalism in their communities. And through our efforts, we've also seen the establishment of beacon newsrooms, the integration of solutions journalism desks and programs in private and public news organizations. And we were extremely proud when the News Agency of Nigeria, and Mr. Ponkle is here, has actually set up a desk within in NAN to train journalists in actually instituting. So that shows how, as News Agency of Nigeria, they really take solutions journalism seriously. And we're really, really proud and really pleased and feel honored that you've actually taken this further in your newsroom and have taken it upon yourselves to train those journalists. And we are, as an organization, very happy to have supported you in doing that, and will continue to do so. And through the unwavering commitment and dedication from newsrooms, journalists, and fellows we've worked with, we've witnessed the organic spread of solutions journalism. The journalists that we've worked with have embraced solution stories and can see themselves as solution storytellers, but have also become, many of you, really passionate advocates for the powerful approach to reporting. We're really proud and pleased that we've supported newsrooms across the country, and just to name a few, in Lagos, Sokoto, Enugu, Akwa Ibom, Abuja, Calabar, Kaduna, Osun, just to name a few states that we've worked in. And having, for me, read a lot of the stories that you have produced, it's clear that you're trying to make a tangible difference in the way that news is reported. So with over 250, more than 250 solutions-focused stories that have been published, with over 100 of them indexed in the Solutions Tracker, I think that deserves a round of applause, because that is quite a feat. Our reach has extended to over 1,000 individuals through online and offline solutions journalism training conducted by our organization, Nigeria Health Watch, as well as fellows and newsroom journalists. And the scope of the project is expanding, has expanded and has covered a broad range of issues. Many of you have this card, and it's quite impressive to see some of the issues that have so far been focused on, and they're quite broad, but these are largely social issues that, when reported, don't get that lens through a solutions-oriented focus. So people actually understand that across all of these areas that we've focused on, from mainly health, non-communicable diseases, maternal newborn child health, sexual reproductive health, drug abuse, immunization, and the list goes on and on. You have it in front of you. And that's a summary of some of the issues that newsrooms have covered. And really, the impact of these stories cannot be underestimated and understated, and has really reached the hearts and minds of countless individuals, inspiring change within our communities. So really, as we reflect on the numbers of the project, let's also remember that behind each statistic lies a story of transformation, resilience, and hope. Together, we have witnessed the integration of Solutions Journalism Network into public health media organizations and institutes, we hope. And we're really, really proud that some of them are now teaching, some higher education institutions are now teaching this in their curriculum. The effects have spread far and wide, reaching radio stations, TV stations, and even renowned journalism training institutes are now including this in their curriculum. So really in closing, I want to extend my and my organization's deepest appreciation to each and every one of you who has contributed to the success of the Solutions Journalism Africa initiative. Your dedication, passion, and unwavering belief in the power of solutions journalism has propelled us forward. And I'm confident that together we can continue to shape the future of media in Nigeria. I'd like to say a special thanks, of course, to my awesome Nigeria Health Watch team. Many of the mentors are here today. They've followed and worked with all of you in shaping your story ideas, in teaching you what the different pillars are. If I said, can someone name all the pillars, I'm sure all of you can name them, but they've really supported the newsrooms over the past 3 years, and I'm extremely proud at the work that has been done. I'm really proud of their dedication and hard work. I cannot end really by giving somebody a special shout out here today, someone who has really driven this from the beginning with passion, with energy. GBK, is he here or is he running around? All of you in this room will know GBK. Our very able Solutions Journalism Initiative Program Manager who has led with a great deal of dedication. He's wondering why we're all clapping. But just to say thank you so much for how you've taken this forward, working with the team, the mentors, the newsrooms, and engaging everybody, pulling everybody together to really make this first round initiative a real success. So thank you all of you, every one of you, and those who are online, for being part of this journey. And I wish you all an enlightening and very fruitful time with us as we pause and reflect on the journey so far in instituting solutions journalism in Nigeria. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Can we give her another round of applause, please? Thank you very much. We're also taking welcome remarks, and we'll take the next round of remarks from the Africa Initiative Manager of the Solutions Journalism Network. Please help me put your hands together for Rona Meir.
Good afternoon, my Naija people. Naija no dey waiting, Naija no dey carry last. Naija no dey waiting, Naija no dey carry last. Thank you so much. It's such a privilege to be here with all of you. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues, eminent editors, journalism lecturers, educators, fellows, as well as helpers, advisors, supporters of the Nigerian cohort of the Solutions Journalism Africa Initiative. All protocols observed. To my elders, to my colleagues, to our campus journalists who are here, you're all welcome. On behalf of my colleagues at the Solutions Journalism Network in New York, I say thank you for working with us to create and implement something that will now outlive us all. Thank you for providing the roadmap to more impact for your journalists, for your journalism, and for our continent. Thanks to your work, almost 300 stories have been published. These are impactful stories. For more than 2 years, you have established our beloved country, Nigeria, even West Africa, on the map for wholesome journalism. Your efforts have resulted in award-winning, award-nominated, grant-bringing journalism, multilingual curriculum. You've pioneered solutions journalism in Nigeria's university curriculum. And best of all, our audiences are seeing changes from policies that ended open defecation in communities to collaborations with women journalism groups in Sierra Leone. We have the very first solutions journalism desk for our national agency. In fact, I was so happy to see this camera here because NTA, you can't beat the reach. So this would not be possible without all of you. Thanks to you, climate change adaptations by farmers, mental health, women and girls solutions, and these people have received prime coverage across our country and beyond. I am so proud of what we're here to celebrate. I'm here to appreciate all your accomplishments in and outside the newsroom, in our universities, and every single thing you've done through this initiative and even after. I also want to thank you for your stories because they are now being used to train colleagues in journalism in Europe, in America, in Asia, even on online courses that up to 500 people register for. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You are now a network of over 1,000 people. Wow. That is more than some states in the US. Just joking. But in this network, we have journalists, fellows, academics, veteran journalists, student journalists, and even other people who have been trained by our accredited trainers. I want to ask you to keep in touch with Nigeria Health Watch, keep in touch with SJN, because this project is only ending in chronological terms. There is more to come, and your best bet is to remain in touch with Vivian, Chibike, and anybody you see in Nigeria Health Watch. Grab them. Also, our doors are always open. Feel free to write to us at info@solutionsjournalism.org. I'm not going to take too long. I look forward to hearing more about your impact in the sessions that will follow. And feel free to ask me any question anytime you see me or whenever you see me in front of a mic today. Thank you all once again, and congratulations! I am so proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rona. Please, a round of applause for her again. Okay, so now we'll be taking the opening reflection for this event. And in our midst, we are honored to have the Managing Director of News Agency of Nigeria, and he'll be giving us the opening reflection. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. We've turned this place into a solution ground. When I first came in, I saw the ladder. And because of my legs, I was wondering how I could get to that place without being a news attractor. I don't want to be I've come here to give news, not to break news and to break my legs. So I was looking for an occasion where I will also be part of the podium and be part of you. So I devised a means of just sitting by the podium. At least we can see one another. And thank you very much. I came here just to show gratitude to Nigeria Health Watch. Few weeks ago, I was in the hospital, and I spent almost a month at the ICU. It affected part of me, and I'm just recuperating. And I'm sure when I finish from here, I go back to the physio session. I should have attended, if not for this occasion. But because of how we place Nigeria Health Watch in the news agency of Nigeria, I said no matter what, even if I have to crawl, I will come here and be part of the crowd and participate fully with you. Thank you very much, the Nigeria Health Watch, for making that NAN part of your success story. I remember when a team from the agency came to our office about 2 years ago. I told the members that apart from the solutions they crave for, NAN is a positivity agency. We think positive. We smell positive. When you enter NAN, it's positivity you see all over, even in the presence of negativity. Because out of positivity, you can just milk, out of negativity, you can milk positivity. So in every situation, in every bad situation, please look for the positive aspect of it, because that hidden aspect is always there. So everybody here, think positive. Think positive, because there's always a solution to every problem. Thank you very much. I was a pioneer member of staff of the News Agency of Nigeria. That was as far back as 1978. You'll be wondering what I'm still doing here. Over 60 years. I retired 10 years ago because of my length of service. But in 2020, the former president recalled me to be part of the agency as the managing director. Well, he had his reasons, but here I am today, a reporter with the News Agency of Nigeria. 2 years after my appointment, we had Lagos as the headquarters by then. We had branches all over the country. The day NAN started operation, we started operation in all the existing states. So 2 years later, I was asked to go to Cross River State. So, wow, me, under 25, unmarried, Cross River State. I've heard so much about Cross River, but I will not look back. I carried my bag and baggage, headed for Calabar. Barely a week after, an oil company gathered journalists to go to Eket, specifically Ibuno. That's their oil mining, oil exploration area. To be specific, mobile oil. They wanted us to cover a library project they had donated to Eket community. They even chartered a helicopter to take us down to Eket. We went, about 10 of us. But on getting to the venue of presentation of library project to the community, we saw a gathering of crowd with placards denouncing Mobile and its operation, calling them all kinds of names. So the better part of me, or journalism part of me, took over. I wanted to know where they came from. They said they came from Ibeno, and to go there, they wanted to take us to the site of where Mobile were producing, and we had to take a canoe. I've never been in a canoe in my life. Meanwhile, when I was leaving Lagos, I didn't tell my parents that I had been transferred. Suppose the canoe capsized. How would they find me? They will find me, but it would be very long. But all that didn't matter when I saw the crowd and their plea that we should come and assist them in exposing what the oil company had been doing to the community. Two of us moved out. We went to the Atlantic, Riverside, chartered a canoe, and went to the platform. We saw everything. Now, in mid-sea, the canoe was unstable. I said, "Hi, God, yeah, we end my adventure." My parents have been telling me I was too restless. So this is how it will end. God saved me. God actually answered my prayers. He saved me. I returned. And instead of going to the library project, because I've been cast as a prodigal child, so I had to charter another vehicle straight back to Calabar and find my story. What am I trying to point out? In whatever you do as a journalist, your conscience matters. In whatever you do as a journalist, you have to weigh the options. Just like the Rotary Club. Is it good? I don't know who is a Rotary member here. If anybody can just, the four-way step of the Rotarian. Is it good? Is it fair? Will it satisfy everybody? That's not the exact word. But that's not the exact phrase. But whoever is familiar with the Rotary four-way test will know what I'm talking about. We have to be fair to everybody. I satisfy my conscience. Yes, the oil company took me down there. Probably I couldn't have known what was going on. But the community people also demanded a fair hearing. And how can we help them if not on that occasion? It might not satisfy the laid-down procedure of the oil company which brought me there, but at least it satisfied the public interest. And furthermore, what I saw the oil company was doing is just some sort of public relations, which on a normal occasion, the journalism ethics would not truly support. Objectivity is the name of the game. Truth, fact, presentation, these are the name of the game. So, in as much as I've satisfied my conscience, in as much as I'm going to report factually what had happened, in as much as some community members will benefit, I was good to go. So I went back to Calabar and filed my report. Behold, it was a headline the following day. It wasn't the era of online publications by then. What I'm talking about was 1980. I have so many things to talk about when it comes to certain examples, but let me also give you another example. I moved from Calabar, from Cross River to Plateau. And in one of my moments when I got to Plateau, I wanted to see things around me. So we drove to a village just on exploration. There, a mother was in labor. She had been in labor for about 3 days. This village I went to was very remote village. Don't ask me what I went there for, but I will let you know. I went in search of palm wine because I love palm wine. I used to love palm wine, but not again. So we didn't see palm wine, but we saw something else. I couldn't hold it when I saw the lady. People in that village were running, scatter. Even the palm wine tapper had taken just thrown away the gas and everything, every instrument. They wanted help. We had a car. Okay, let's go. And to get a hospital, we had to come back to Jos. We volunteered too, and we took the lady down to Jos. Probably at the point of, I wasn't the doctor, but the way I saw the situation, but I'm still seeing it now, more than 30 years ago. The woman could have been dead, and the fetus probably could also have been dead. But because of our intervention, we saved a life, we saved the mother and the child. And when I recounted my story again, it was headline news in major newspapers by that time. There and then, I decided that safe motherhood will be my watch, will be part of my history. And since then, I've been an advocate for mother and child. Throughout my sojourn in NAN, I ensured that mothers, children were given priority. And I had links with the United Nations, even after retirement or in retirement. I was consulting for them, especially UNFPA and UNICEF. I still have some friends among them. What did I do? I asked our agency that we should start some collaboration with some notable organizations, willing organizations, UNFPA, UNICEF, even UNIFEM by then, headed by Professor, one lady professor, the name I will remember later. We had a sustaining project funded fully by UNFPA. We also had a project by UNICEF where we talked about population, health, population, and the environment. From the funds we received from them, we were able to hold workshops with other journalists across the country. At a stage, we had a workshop in Ghana sponsored by UNIFEM by then. It's now women. What's UNIFEM now? Sorry, can somebody tell me what UNIFEM is now? It has changed its name. UN Women. UN Women. So we collaborated with them. Through NAN, many other agencies benefited. Many other newsrooms benefited. We also established a health and population desk in the News Agency of Nigeria. And up to today, the UNFPA is still funding that desk, although not in a large scale when I was here. Yes, I try to bring up these two scenarios because of their relevance. Their relevance to ourselves, their relevance to the agencies we work for, the relevance to the communities we live in, the relevance to the country we are in, and the global community as a whole. The journalist is a link between the community and the world. And no matter what you stand to give, we are all givers. If you want to make it giver, we want to make ourselves givers. There's one thing that we have to do, and that is serving the community. If you don't want to serve the community, then you shouldn't call yourself a journalist. Yeah. What else should a journalist possess? You should abide by the ethics of the profession. Today, many of us are practitioners. We know what it is. Bastardization of the ethics. I need not tell you more about it. You know better. Today, some of us are not resourceful enough, relying on public relations, press releases, relying on stories that just slated assignments. A journalist should be resourceful. Resourcefulness is the name of the group. You should have long nose. These are the primary 101 lectures we receive in the universities. You develop a long nose for news. If you don't have that long nose, let me borrow you mine. Although it's flat, I can take some and give to you. Develop a long nose for news. You have to be resourceful. You have to ensure that you update your curriculum educationally. In NAN, we encourage this. If you come in with a BSc, we encourage you to go for masters. And some of us, some of the journalists even are PhD holders because we want excellence in whatever we produce. And most of all, you stick to objectivity. You stick to factual reporting. Otherwise, you are a gunner. We don't tolerate, there's just no middle road to it. The moment you are discovered that you are a liability, you are shown the way out. And you have interest for the public as a journalist. You empathize with the public. We empathize with the story. You empathize with what your ambience. You empathize with your everything about you. Otherwise, you shouldn't be a journalist. Go for something else. These days, people qualify their reportage with adjectives. Sometimes not certain adjective. Oh, five people roasted in an accident. Are they chicken? To be in fact, when you say you have debased humanity, when you use adjectives that are so strong that they don't recognize human feelings and humanity. Please, whenever we report, cancel adjective if need be. Use adjective sparingly so that you don't offend sensibilities. And when I talk about sensibilities, in your environment, ensure that you... Is my time up? They say my time is up, so I have to cut short. I wish I could give more. In conclusion, brothers and sisters, make yourself a hero and heroine. We are not looking for martyrs. Gone are the days when we searching for martyrs. We want heroes now, and you can be heroes and heroines. Thank you very much.
Please, let's give another round of applause to Mr. Conley. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so very much, sir. So, just to be certain that we still have your attention in full dose, I would ask, what was your favorite subject while you were in school? How many people had mathematics as their favorite subject? They didn't come today. So, those people did not come today, right? So, can you please show me your phones? Phones, please. Now, reach your hand forward and drop it on the table. Put it far away from you. You're going to do a quick arithmetic for me without your phone. So drop your phone far away from you. Are you ready? I have a refreshing gift for the person who gives me the quickest answer. So do this quick sum for me. Are we ready? You told me, Rona is holding her phone. What's going on? Work. All right. Let's go. 8 times 6 plus 9 plus 3 divided by 3. Don't tell me now. Plus 7 equals to 27. Wrong. What? 65. A round of applause for her. Very correct. Thank you so much. And I also said earlier that we will acknowledge everyone who's using the hashtag #SojoNigeria. So I've seen some of your posts on Twitter. If you haven't shared the post, please go ahead and do so now. So let's acknowledge Laz Ude Eze. Please just wave. Just wave. Thank you for tweeting. We also have Sheon Duro Jaye. Please just wave. Hi. Alex Ogbodo, where are you? Thank you for tweeting. Osman Aliyu. Osman Aliyu. Thank you for tweeting. Of course, Nigeria Health Watch is tweeting. We also have Social Voices. Social Voices, thank you for tweeting also. Vivian Ihekwazu. Oh, no, this is an old tweet. All right. So if you forgot to tweet, it's a good time to do so now using the hashtag #SojoNigeria. We're moving on now, and we'll take the next item on the agenda. But before we do that, we'd love to recognize the presence of the Executive Director of News, representing the DG of NTA. Please put your hands together for Ayo Adewuyi. Thank you for coming, sir. Now, I will call on the Senior Program Manager, Nigeria Health Watch, to tell us what is SJAI, the Solutions Journalism Africa Initiative, and what have we learned from this program. He'll present to us an highlight and stories page for the program. Please help me make welcome Chiwike Alagbozo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for making out time to join us today. It's really appreciated. Can I have the slide, please? Thank you. Okay, so I want to start with this question. This saying, I'm sure all of us are familiar with it. Wahala no dey. Yes? Or problem no dey, because these problems are always, in our faces. There are issues, there are problems, so many social problems staring us in the faces. But if you dwell so much on the problems, on these problems, all these plenty wahalas, you will forget that there is a visually impaired Nigerian, a blind person, who is training others to use gadgets with ease. That is something that is working. If you focus so much on the problems, you will forget that, or you won't even realize that solar power is illuminating Maiduguri after blackouts. You focus so much on the insecurity, the insurgency, the wahala, the problems. You won't realize that yams, cassava, young people are farming it, children are farming it, and it's helping them to sustain their education in a community in Anambra State. Because why? Because of what? You are focusing on the wahala. Wahala, not the finish, right? Yes, true. But you will also not realize that, yes, we have people at Japan, medical professionals are leaving. But you won't realize that there are also medical professionals who are coming back, bringing back their expertise, bringing back their networks to set up practice in Nigeria. There's a group called Doctors for Change. You won't realize that because wahala no dey finish, right? That is it. You know, too much focus on the problems. Yes, we understand problems will always scream. And so, can you see the solutions there? Solutions whisper. Yes? Very tiny. Solutions whisper. We are here. I am here. Please see me. But the problems are always shouting. Huh? This one problem, I can't even begin to name them. And when we do solution journalism training, we usually ask people, can you list the problems in Nigeria? And within 5 seconds, you see a sheet of paper is filled with the problems. I'm sure a lot of us here who have been through the training as part of the fellowship or part of the project have experienced that. But when you ask the reverse, okay, what is working? You will see, yes, they come in, but they struggle to come in, the things that are working. And like MD said, in spite of the problems, there are things that are working. So that's the problem. But the whole idea of the Solution Journalism Africa initiative is to change that. You know, yes, problems will always scream, but we want the solutions that as they are whispering, let them be more visible. So investing the same amount of energy we invest in talking about problems, in reporting problems, to finding out the things that are working and reporting them. That is the whole essence of the Solution Journalism Africa initiative when it started in 2020 officially, but activities kicked up in 2021. In a nutshell, it's supported, I'm sure you've heard a lot about it from Vivian and Rona, supported by the Solution Journalism Network, happening in Nigeria and Kenya, training fellows, newsrooms, on how to do solution journalism, really on how to report on the things that are working beyond all of the wahala, okay? That is simply what it is. And the whole idea was let people learn that there is a way, let journalists, let colleagues learn that there is a way to report on these issues. And how did we do it? The how. Newsroom engagements, I'm sure you've seen all of the amazing people that we've brought here today. They made it happen. The newsrooms, we engage with the leadership, they nominate the people that we train, because for us, it wasn't just about ticking the box. Oh, we've trained this group of people. Oh, they've done stories and we move on. For us, it was about making it a part of the newsroom, making it institutional, institutionalizing it. So we engage with the newsroom leaders. We get their buy-in. They nominate people. We train the people, support them to be able to do their stories because it's hands-on. So it's not just do a training and they move on. So we had a fellowship component of it where we engage with freelancers and also newsroom journalists, the same format, trained them and supported them to do solution journalism stories. During the trainings, of course, we organized field visits. I remember in cohort 2, went to an IDP camp in Waru. Usually when you go to such a place, it's the problem switch that you turn on. Oh, what are the issues that people are having? Yes, they were asking those questions, but because of the training, they were now asking, are you finding ways to address these issues? And just from that trip, about 5 stories came out of that. My colleague and I also went to Osun State to train students, Fountain University. And we took them on a field trip to go into the community, engage with them, find out what the issues are, but also ask them about how they are addressing those issues. Really amazing experience. We also have radio engagements where we talk about these things on radio, educate the public, because beyond educating colleagues, beyond educating journalists, we also want the public to join in demanding for better storytelling, for balanced storytelling. social media engagement, of course, amplifying some of the stories, some of the outcomes from the project and the people that we're working with. As that went on, we also realized that there are newsrooms who had that capacity already. So we had what we call the support newsroom program, where we gave them seed grants to commission younger journalists to do solution stories. So you see, what that did was to make the practice grow organically. So people were now leading, people were now champions of telling solution stories. We also had beacon newsrooms from cohort 1 and 2 where we said, oh, you did well, because the reward for more work is usually more work, right? So we selected a couple of newsrooms that we worked with in cohort 1 and 2 and said, you did well, take these little funds and let's see what you can do with it, more. We also had solution journalism meetups where we had regional meetups with journalists talking about solution journalism. And towards the end, we started experimenting with collaborative solution stories. So beyond the amazing stories that have come out of it, there are ways that these journalists can collaborate with each other to tell solution stories. So you are looking at what's working in this community, but beyond that community, another person is also looking at how another community is addressing it. So that way you can share and compare findings. So what did we find in all of this? What is the evidence, or what did all of this efforts lead to? You already have the highlights there. 3 cohorts of media organizations, 30 media organizations, 90 journalists in the newsrooms, over 250 stories, and still counting, really. I can go on and on. You already have them in the highlights. But for us, it's beyond the numbers, okay? It's not just about the numbers. It's also how people have taken ownership. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to speak with a former editor at ICIR, and he was telling me how the pitches he gets now, they are mostly around, young journalists, and even, established journalists pitching stories around solution journalism. So they're not just interested in talking about what is not working. They want to write about what is working. So for him, that was really humbling. It's about a really senior journalist from NTA telling me that the story she did really gave her a different insight around the issue that she reported on. For us, that's also impact. Okay, it's beyond just the numbers. But in all of this, what did we learn? What are the insights that other people can take out of it? Creative freedom is really important. I think one of the things that contributed to the success of this project is the creative freedom we had from the Solution Journalism Network. They were not prescriptive. They were not micromanaging. They allowed us to create as we go. And we introduced a lot of things. Like I said, the initial idea was let people know about solution journalism. Let us train journalists. Let more people know about it. But as we went on, we started branching out. It's like, you start something and it starts getting, hydra-headed. But that happened because we had that creative freedom. Okay, we also realized that it's important to empower and support partners as advocates. And by partners, I mean the journalists that we worked with, because we didn't say, this is what you must do, just do your stories. Because it's beyond the stories, like I said. We started encouraging them to be the advocates. And that happened because they started teaching their colleagues. The fellows started organizing trainings on how to do solution journalism because they took ownership. They became advocates, champions of writing balanced reporting. Okay, it's also important to guide and be flexible to allow people to walk around what matters to them. When this started, the whole idea was because we're a health-focused organization, yeah, and the issues we wanted covered mostly around here. But as we went on, we realized it's important to also allow people to report on the issues that they care about. And you see that when that happens, they give it their best. So when you look at the stories, when you step out, the anchors will call you out to that. You see a range of stories on different issues. Why? Because we allowed the people we worked with to report on the issues that really matter to them. Where there are challenges, definitely. You work with different people, they have different pace, understanding these issues, different commitments. So all of that can be a challenge. And you're also working on a timeline. So that can be a challenge, but of course, it's the patience to manage and realize that people are dealing with different things at various points. So also, of course, factors beyond our control, environmental, political, social issues like early this year, nothing was happening. I was just chasing everyone, like, oh, we're covering the elections, this, that. Yes, all of that can slow things down because you have a timeline that you're working with, and, it doesn't always go like that. Newsroom leadership, like I said, it's important to get that buy-in. So that's an important lesson that we are taking away. So whoever wants to try this again can know that it's important to engage the leaders. So yes, we know the journalists, they are our colleagues, we work with them in the health communication and advocacy work we do at Nigeria Health Watch. But it's important to get the buy-in of the leaders. That way it is more sustainable. The quest for sustainability is really, like I said, it's really about empowering the people that you're working with. Okay, so they understand that this is their thing. It's not just ticking the box and moving on. So in all of this, what I have just told you is, I just did this with the 4 pillars of what the solution journalism story is. I just told you the story of the project, because when you are trying to do a solution story, you are following 4 important pillars. Yes, we are not ignoring the problem. The problem, you report it, we amplify it, especially if it is not well known. But you also want to go beyond reporting the problem. You want to report on how did you address the problem. Okay, what exactly did you do? We talked about news avoidance and how this project is helped to address that. You want to talk about what was done to address that problem. What are the steps? How did they do it? It's not about someone saying, oh, I fixed this problem. How did you fix it? That's the lesson that people can take away. You want to talk about the insights. What can we learn from that process? Because, like I said, Community A and Community B, they are having the same problem. Community B is solving it. You report on it. So what can Community A learn from Community B to address that problem? So what are those insights that make whatever they did successful? And of course, were there limitations, were there challenges, you also want to highlight that, because it's not a PR story. You are not promoting. You are actually investigating. If you do a solution story right, the person you are writing about can actually be displeased with your report, because you are asking all the questions. What didn't work? And if it's a PR person, they won't be happy to tell you what didn't work. They want to paint everything, all perfect. So those are the pillars of solution journalism. Now that we have shared all of this, what do we want? What are we asking for? We want you to explore and engage with these stories. You're going to see some of them outside, a couple of them, not so many, because we can't possibly exhibit all of them. Tomorrow, we'll bring out a bit more at the outdoor gathering tomorrow. We want you to engage with these stories, because what these stories, what they mean, these are 250 potential interventions that others can learn from. These are 250 potential interventions that can be replicated elsewhere. These are 250 potential interventions that can be scaled up. So we want you to look at these stories. We want you to engage with them. We want you to share them. Some of them will surprise you, to be honest. Some I review, I'm like, wow, I didn't know there's a solution. Someone is even addressing this. You will get some of those reactions when you take time to look at the story. So we want you to engage with them. We want you to keep using them to drive the conversation and holding power accountable. Like I said, this community is solving it, and the other community, they have the capacity, they have the resources to solve it, and they are not solving it. You can use that to ask questions. Why are you not doing this? You got the same grant. This person got the same grant. This has been their output so far. What is your excuse? That's what solution journalism can do for you. If you are a consumer, yes, we know a majority of us here are journalists, but a couple are also on the audience side. We want you to demand for more. There was a tweet that one of our colleagues put my attention to a couple of months ago. Someone tweeted something, train derailment, well-known media person, train derailment again. And a Nigerian, normal person like us, went under the tweet and said, yes, we understand, how you are an advocate for good governance and all. But occasionally, once in a while, talk about the things that are working. It's not always bad news. Probably this person doesn't know there's a thing called solution journalism, and this was what they were demanding from that person. So also join in demanding that. Ask people, when they report on these issues, you also ask them, and so what? What next? Is there no one trying to address this problem? So we want you to join in demanding for such stories. And like I said, about exploring, we are putting them out there in public so you can also explore the stories, look at, just gain insights from these issues, a range of issues. They're not very clear here. But on the Nigeria Health Watch website, we're going to put the dashboard in a way so you can scan this. Please scan me. So you can scan this. It will take you to the page on Nigeria Health Watch website where we're going to put the dashboard. So all of this data, all of these stories that you're seeing here, it will come in a way that you can easily click and engage with the story. So you want to see the spread of the newsrooms, the spread of the stories that they covered. You want to see the spread of the range of issues they covered, who are the journalists we worked with. You can just explore it pretty much. So we really want you to do that beyond this conversation that we're having today, because that's one way to sustain it and keep it going. Yes. Wahala know they finish, but that is not the only story, right? There are people responding to the problems. There are people going out of their ways to solve these problems. Please, fellow colleagues, let's find them. Let's tell their stories so that others can learn from what they are doing. I'm really thankful to the team, Nigeria Health Watch team, that has made this possible. They are all over the place. You won't see them, but they are really doing amazing work. They are supportive. And to the Solutions Journalism Network, supported by our Madam, Rona. Thank you so much for all that you do. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Chibike. Please, a round of applause for him again. I think there's this popular song, Problem, you know they finish. Like we try to enjoy. Okay, fine. So right now, I want us to enjoy. We'll be playing a video to show the impact of the work we've done so far with this project. So please sit back, relax. Problem not they finished, but let's enjoy this video. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex Obodo. I was part of the Solutions Journalism training in April 2022. And that training has opened my eyes to a number of ways newsrooms can make news work for the people. It is something that opens you up to the ability to give people hope using the small news stories you cover. It makes a difference because since after that training, my life has changed as a broadcast journalist. I now refer to myself as a solutions journalist. Shortly after that training in Abuja in April, I came back to Enugu to be part of Guild of Editors conference that happened in partnership with the US Embassy. It was on covering elections. I had the opportunity of speaking in that conference and I talked about solutions journalism. Now, after stating that it is necessary for us journalists to pay attention to the messages we put out, how it gives people hope or the opposite, I appeal to my colleagues to use their platforms to provide succor to the people instead of being a source of bad news and anguish for the people. After I spoke about solutions journalism, the US Embassy rep there met me the next day and said that she loved what I said and asked me to be part of a media co-op program. Now, I went to the US because of that to cover the US midterm elections in November. It was life-changing. On my return from the US, it has been some sort of transformation for me because now I am an international solutions journalist and I will continue to preach the gospel of Sojo like I've always promised, and I will continue to work on solutions journalism stories. And we have decided in our station to open a solutions journalism desk and, of course, to continue to produce solutions journalism stories. So it's been very life-changing and I thank the Solutions Journalism Network, the Nigeria Health Watch and all their partners for making this a reality. Thank you.
That's very awesome. And I must tell you that I was also a part of the Sojo Journalism Network, and it came for me at a time when I was considering giving up on investigative reporting. For those who have done investigative reporting, you understand that it takes a lot of your time and a lot of risks also involved. It came at a time where I was asking myself, why, do we only have bad news in Nigeria? And looking at the outlay of all the stories that have been done in the past few years, you will see that we actually do have some good stories. We do have some positive stories that we can share that's happening possibly in the rural areas across Nigeria. Now, before we move on, I am back. Tell me welcome. I am back. Okay. So this time, before we move on, we're not having another mathematics exercise. We're going a bit along the lines of Sojo. And I wanted to share with you a few things I found out. So I tagged this, did you know? If you knew this, just tell me, oh, I know. Now, did you know that it snows in the Sahara Desert? It snows in the Sahara Desert. Did you know? Did you know? Yeah, who's a yes? Who knew? You knew, one person. It snows in the Sahara Desert. It has snowed 4 or 5 times only in the past 40 years. Yeah, talk about Sojo. We said that some of these facts whisper. That's what Chibuike said, right? Now, did you also know, if I ask you as journalists, which country has the most pyramids, what country would you say it was? What if I told you that is wrong? Did you know that Sudan has the most number of pyramids? Wow. But Egypt is quite prominent, right? Talk about what is in the eye of the news. So you see how effective news can be. If you continue to report one thing, people might not know that there's an alternative that exists elsewhere. All right. So we're moving on now, and we're going to have our fireside chat with a list of speakers. It will be a very engaging session, and I'm very sure that you will have a good time. To take us on the very first fireside chat on the topic, the future of impactful journalism, the role of solutions journalism. Please help me welcome the Director of Programs for Nigeria Health Watch, Kemisola Agbaoye. Please, you have to keep clapping until she gets up here. Let's make her very much welcome.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Oh, thank you. You saved me from saying that, like, I don't know, a few times. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us at this closeout event. It's been a really exciting project, and we are really excited to talk about what this means for the future of journalism in Nigeria. So without further ado, please help me welcome my speakers for this panel. I'm going to start by inviting to the stage very quickly Adedeji Adekunle, who is the Program Director at Nigeria Media Innovation Program. Thank you. Deji is a media development and innovation expert and trainer who has worked, please come up stage, thank you, who has worked extensively in the West African media ecosystem. And at various times, he has served as Director of Programs, Director of Innovation, Verification and Media Literacy at the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development. He's a leading West African media development think tank. And apparently, you have a lot of fans on my staff. Asari says hi. She's the one screaming over there. Please put your hands together once again for Deji. Next, I'm going to invite one of my favorite people. I'm the fan in this instance. Please help me welcome Uju Ohairi, who is the Managing Director of KISS FM Abuja. She is one of the nominees we trained when we engaged the second cohort of newsrooms on the Solutions Journalism Africa Initiative project. After that, they started the Solutions Hour program, where they encouraged their listeners to send in examples of solutions that were working in their community. She's going to tell you a whole lot more about that. They were also one of our beacon newsrooms. Please put your hands together once again for her. And finally, please help me welcome Folarin Jamil, who is a researcher and lecturer at Crescent University, Ogun State. Great. Folarin Jamil is also a Dubawa Research Fellow at Premium Times Center for Investigative Journalism, and he participated in the Solutions Journalism Africa Fellowship, the very first one that we had. And he has consistently advocated for the integration of solutions journalism into the university curriculum in his capacity. Please put your hands together for him one more time. Okay, so I'll sit now. So this is essentially a fireside chat, like the agenda says. And the idea really is to just explore what the future of journalism is and see exactly what role solutions journalism would play in that. From Chibuike's presentation, from the previous preceding remarks, I'm sure we all, and given that this room is full of solutions journalism practitioners, I'm sure we all know what that is. So basically, I would like to actually just start by finding out from Digi first. You do a lot of work engaging and supporting newsrooms in your work on the Nigeria Media Innovation Program. And I'm sure you get to see a lot of the stories that come out of these newsrooms. Could you share what the trend is? What kinds of stories are you seeing in the Nigerian media landscape? What are their styles of storytelling? And yeah, what are the insights that you can share on the trends?
Thank you. Hello. All right. I think I'll just start by saying many of the Nigerian media organizations right now, I don't know, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. A lot of the organizations in the Nigerian media are quite diverse now. We have a growing pluralism, which is good. And that means you get different types of stories, different types of organizations and niches. And we seem to be responding to the call that we face right now as practitioners, which is a disruption in the space. I can open a blog tomorrow, right? And republish every bad thing that happens that is on social media. And also, right now as practitioners, we are rewarded, and our relevance and sustainability is in the value that we add, whether it be investigative, whether it be solutions. And we are beginning to see that more. And so there is an adoption of a more robust storytelling style across board. Even though we still have people who have their unique focus, like maybe there are some platforms that are more investigative than others. There are also platforms that have sprung up now that are fully focused on solutions journalism, and I work with a few. And then there are others that focus on fact-checking and just news. But that plurality is good. However, primarily we are storytellers. And we are providing more value and using solutions journalism and looking at issues holistically is beginning to become the norm. I won't say the norm yet, but we are on that journey. And we are beginning to realize that our sustainability, our existence, and the value we bring right on how well we are able to do that. So I think that's like the trend that I'm observing right now with the media in general. Thanks.
Right, so we're seeing a trend of
innovation, right? We're seeing a lot more types of newsrooms coming up. We're seeing online media really gaining ground. And we're also seeing a bit more of solutions journalism, right? And I know that NAMIP does a lot of work around ensuring that newsrooms are sustainable, that they're thinking of innovative revenue streams. How do you think solutions journalism can contribute to that? I mean, if we were to make a case, right, for solutions journalism to be institutionalized and become more of the mainstay of the kind of journalism that we do, we would have to make a case for sustainability, right? How would solutions journalism fit into that?
I think solutions journalism fits in when you start to, or when you remind yourself. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. I think solutions journalism fits in when you remind yourself that the currency of a media organization is its audience. And every day, no matter what kind of niche, no matter what type of publication you are, whether you're a digital native or you're a radio station, you are daily trying to engage with more people, build your audience, and relate to more people. And it's been seen, and some research is already being done by the Solutions Journalism Network and all about the impact of solutions journalism on the audience. I could just quote a few here about a higher percentage believing solution stories better, a higher percentage feeling empowered and living with a positive feel after reading solution stories. However, the main point I take away from this is, one, solution stories add more value, and in line with that, they increase the level of engagement. And I emphasize audience and engagement because the trends that we see in distribution and in the way the media and the tech space is evolving show that media consumption is going to increasingly be a very intimate experience. People are going to be very selective about what they consume going forward. People are going to be more deliberate. People are no longer just consuming what's in front of them, but they are more deliberate. Otherwise, they'd rather abstain. And that shows that the impact on your sustainability by adopting more holistic storytelling like solutions journalism is quite clear. You can identify an audience that resonates with whatever area you're covering from your own solutions angle. And I think generally, from a personal point of view, that you should not be a one-dimensional journalist. You need to tell rounded stories. You need to tell the stories as well as possible within the resources that you have. And you need to employ every tool that you can use. And solutions journalism is a unique one from the point of view that apart from it having its tenets are not just isolatory in the sense that they are investigative tenets inside the solutions framework. You also still inform, you also investigate, you engage. So it's kind of a good way to start and build your storytelling culture or approach. And that way it's easier to build a loyal audience that you can now build on. So I think that's really important in terms of the sustainability of organizations. Thanks.
Absolutely. So to build a loyal audience, I like what you said about how people are becoming more intimate with their news, and they'll avoid news that doesn't do them well. I mean, we're in a woke generation, right? People are always trying to protect their mental health. That's like a constant thing online. Solutions journalism helps you preserve that. And you have to actively engage that audience. So speaking of engaging with your audience, right? And so Uju, hi. Your fan is here. Okay. So KISS FM participated in the second cohort of the Solutions Journalism Africa initiative, right? And you you've gone on to create a dedicated Sojo desk. Well, one of the things you did was engage your community, right? And get them to tell you what stories were working. Could you tell us more about that and just highlight some of the key takeaways that you want to share from that experience?
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Okay. So when we went through the training last year, April, it was very interesting. Never had anything like that, right? So we went through the training, and it dawned on me personally that we actually wield so much power. So I am in the broadcast space, and people listen. You literally can't tell the exact amount of people who listen and how far what they hear you talk about, how far it goes. And it's so interesting to note that they literally take your word for it. Whatever you say, they make reference to. She said, I heard it from the station, so it has to be true. Now, after the training, I personally realized the power that we wield as journalists. So I was thinking, beyond just writing stories, I wanted to do something that was going to be like a communal solution, you know. And on one of the programs I anchor in the afternoon, in fact, right there at the training, I remember one of my colleagues, Yechenu, we sat down and said, what do we do? So she brought up the idea, and we put it together and said that was fantastic. We didn't have a name. So randomly one afternoon, we're like, why don't we do this in like a revival? Like Solutions Hour. Call us and tell us what you have seen working. So we did a proper introduction, letting them know what we're looking for. And we could not believe the feedback we got that day. But there's something that was striking. Some people called in and talked about very laudable things they had done. Mm-hmm. Some others called in and say, hey, I'm not doing much. It's just one family I'm doing something for. Or it's just my streets. I was just able to tar my street with my friends. So what we did then was give them the impression that this thing you think is nothing. You were able to tar your street. You were able to lead a delegation to the power whatever station in your village. You were able to clothe some homeless people. We gave them the impression that, look, or we brought to their consciousness that this activity you are looking at as small has reduced the burden in that community. So that your streets, that you people stayed together and you did one or two things, that family you claim that's all that you have been doing, will never remain the same because of that small, seemingly small thing that you did. So we got fantastic feedback. Now, the one that blew us away was when we had calls. Someone called in and said, I live in Kubwa, axis of Abuja, and there are this group of women who fixed the road. I was asking, what do you mean by they fixed the road? They said they literally are fixing the road. So at first I thought, And then someone else calls and says, it's true, I've seen them before. I'm back, like, we had more and more people calling in to say, I am corroborating what that man said. It is true. So we threw out a challenge. We don't know the place. We've never seen the women. Who can find the women? Maybe get one person's contact. And somebody took up the challenge, and he actually went, got the contact, and 2 days later, he sent it to us. This is their leader. Her name is XYZ. This is her number. And see what I said about, now it's not just us coming to say, okay, look at the story, we found this. No, it was more like everybody putting their hands together. And we went, my colleagues and I actually went to the place to see for ourselves what these women were doing. And it was mind-blowing. I'm talking about women, grandmothers, new wives, moms with their baby strapped on their back, would come out as early as 4 a.m., 4:30, on the road. This stretch of road in Kubwa, Biajin, it was really bad. They would come out in the morning, and then they would ask for money from passers-by, as well as motorists. Now, that early, they're already at risk, all the security risk and whatnot. However, they said, when we went there, they told us a story of somebody who fell into labor on that road. Because it was bad, there was crazy traffic. The woman fell into labor. We also heard the story of a child who almost drowned because it rained and the road was really bad. So the water was going to carry the child away, and so many other things. We spoke to those women for about 2 hours. We couldn't contain, what we were hearing. So that story brought to our consciousness the fact that there are a lot of solutions going on around us, but we don't see it. And sometimes we are looking for it by ourselves. Meanwhile, we cannot be everywhere at the same time. So that's why we use the power of our platform to reach out to people to say, let us know what is happening in your location, and we will follow up and we'll go and search out those stories So those women and their story, we brought them on radio. We've brought them on radio a total of about 3 times now. They're eager to come and talk about what is going on. It got to a point where the local council chairman was threatening them. It got to a point where the Keke Napep riders, according to them now, the Keke Napep riders, the Okada riders, had been tipped to punish them for not leaving the road when they were asked to leave. So in the morning, it's still a bit dark. So in the morning, they're there, they're asking for money. Next thing they would see somebody, when a tricycle or bike is coming closer, it's supposed to slow down, right? They notice that something is different. These guys are hitting us without any apologies. These guys are not, sometimes they will gather them, they will insult them, call them names, but the next day they will come out. So they stopped sometime last year because they were threatened. They were threatened with arrest. They had been locked up a couple of times.
Wow. And
they're very, very interesting women. So you lock them up, you release them, they go back. You lock them up, you release them, they go back. So their story, when we feature them on radio, it ignited some kind of responsibility in people. So you hear people saying, if women can do this, then what am I complaining about? Or if this woman who is 60-something, the other one is or close to 70, or the other one is just a new wife, if they can do this, then what am I complaining about?
Yeah.
That is one major thing that story did for us. And in fact, the women have become the star of that particular program because it's a women's program. And when I reached out to them that would like to have them tomorrow, they were excited. Tell us when, how many should we? So all of us, so they're excited that people recognize what we're doing.
They're coming to the event tomorrow.
Yes.
Awesome, really awesome. Yeah.
So that's to show that, okay, they're doing, and they are back on the roads. They were sent away. They were sent away by the government, the local government. They were locked up for a couple of days, released, and threatened never to come back. Now, here's the interesting thing. The chiefs of that location, who we saw them when we visited, took a delegation to the houses of the women, begging them to please come back.
Wow.
That the road they stopped fixing has gone back to square one. So the women, as of yesterday when I placed a call to them, were on the road. As early as 4:30, as usual, doing what they know how to do best.
I'm really sorry to have to interrupt you because I really love this story. I could hear it, 10 times and still react the same way.
Yeah.
But 2 key things I'm taking away from your story is that you collaboratively told your story with your community, with your audience, right?
Yes.
Collaborative journalism is one of the things that is really big right now, and everyone is trying to figure out how to involve communities in telling these stories, because when you involve them and they are telling their own stories, then it's more impactful, right? You have a lot more engagement, you have stories that touch. I will use those words because this is Niger. So yes, thanks so much for sharing that. I might come back to you if I have enough time, but let me just quickly go to Mr. Biodun. Sorry, Mr. Folari Jamiu. We have another Jamiu here, so sometimes I kind of mix it up. So you're a journalism educator and you were a participant in the Solutions Journalism Africa Fellowship. But one of the things you did was actually reach out to young students. You basically made some moves to catch them young. Can you tell us about that? And what are the key learnings from that? How have they engaged, basically, and what kinds of stories have come out of those?
Okay, thank you. This is a great opportunity to share my experience. I was a journalism student at Mashuda Bella Polytechnic. I also was a student at Olabisi Onabanjo University. And just to give you that background, I also was a journalist for 6 years before moving to the academics. And this is my 5th to 6th years. And I consider myself as a bridge between the town and gown. And having realized this, my particular experience was I was one of the pioneer staff of the first private radio station in Ogun State. And our focus then was basically because of the nature of the media landscape. We focused more on negative stories because then what we believe was that media organization in Ogun State then were majorly owned by the state government, broadcast stations. So when we came, our focus was basically to expose corruption, look at inadequacies, among others. So my my experience was largely negative when it comes to reportage. And what aided it basically was what we are exposed to, and I believe every one of us who has passed through journalism school experience the fact that when you want to determine or define news, we define it as timely reported or factual events. And we identify key issues that determine newsworthiness: controversy, bizarre, conflict, and prominence, timeliness. But the one we emphasize more are the negative ones. And in our determination of what we call newsworthiness, we look at what is negative in stories, even positive stories. You have positive stories, you are looking for negative. So it was on this basis I joined academics. And for those in the education academics, we understand what Dennis McQuill, is contributions to the normative theory. We understand the climate in which each media platform operates is the political climate. We determine how media operates in such climate. And we talk about developmental media theory, social responsibility theory, as advocated by Dennis McQuill. So when in the course of teaching journalism-related courses in the university, I shared my experience with my students in 2015 and 16 that, yes, we should look at the challenges we have in our country, but we should also look at developmental issues, going by the advocacies from even those that are not from Africa, like Dennis McQuill, that advocate for the developmental journalism and democratic participatory reporting. Then I now also emphasize what the WINCO, that is the New World Information and Communication Order, specify on the imbalance in the information flow between the North and South. That it's high time Africa start telling their own story in positive ways. So these are my advocacy. When I joined, I had the opportunity to be one of the pioneer fellow of African Solution Journalism African Initiative. And I pitched that proposal that there's need to integrate solution journalism into the curriculum and also look at the possibility of catching them young. Because the most important thing we must do now, some of us, we said, even those journalists are eja kika, eja gbigbe. And the meaning of that in Yoruba is that some of them, the physique and the type of training we have makes it even impossible, somehow practically impossible for us to adjust. When we adjust, we are so used to negative stories. In as much as we are trying to change that orientation, let us start catch them young. Let us start redefining the concept of newsworthiness, not only emphasizing on negative story. And this was one of the things that I did at Crescent, Department of Mass Communication, Crescent University, where I introduced modules of solution journalism into journalism-related courses. And how did they receive it? Very fantastic. It was positive because my interaction with many of these students, many of my students don't want to practice journalism. And one of the factors was basically it contributed to depression, that students get depressed that will I be faced with this type of challenges of reporting negative stories. And this contributes a lot to our mental health. And one of the things that I learned from ICR training, maybe about 4 years ago in Abuja, was the failure of media institutions to look at the challenges resulting from the experience of journalists covering negative-oriented story. I doubt if any journalist will not have what we call post-traumatic stress disorder. I have one. And until I attended that training by ICR, I don't even know that I have that particular, because every time I look back, whether someone is trailing me, I got unnecessarily suspicious, and most of us as journalists, except if you are not doing your job as you're supposed to do it, you must have been trailed, you must have been threatened, and there's need for us to move away from this perspective to ensure that we look at positive perspective in reporting events in our community. And how when we introduced it, most of them accepted it. But we have one or two challenges. One of it was the structure of curriculum in our tertiary institution is such that they have many assignments, they have many deadlines to meet, and as a result of it, when we give this particular solution journalism assignment, go and do it, they find it difficult to meet the deadline. And you know the issue with deadline in the newsroom, just like Professor Shoboale will tell us, he said the line between life and death. And my boss is also here, Mr. Adedeji. When I was a fellow with Dubawa, deadline is sacrosanct. When you fail and you don't meet up with your deadline, you have sanctions. And as a result of it, because of deadline and multitude of assignments, they find it very difficult to accomplish solution journalism stories. So what we did, from what I learned from my experience when I attended the 2022 Solution Journalism Summit in the US, was what I introduced, and it worked very well. I try as much as possible to collaborate with other journalism lecturers, and we have joint assignments that we pick up all elements of journalism, including solution journalism. So instead of having 5, 6 assignments, we have just one assignment that will incorporate investigative journalism, we incorporate data journalism, we incorporate solution journalism. So as a result of this, we are able to achieve a lot. We have created a desk. The students are now contributing to that desk. We call it Progress Report. And one of the students, thanks to Social Voices, that published one of the story of one of our students. And they've been encouraged as a result of that. So generally, when we look at the integration of solution journalism, students accepted it. And even lecturers, some journalism lecturers also are willing to also incorporate them in journalism-related courses. So in all, I must commend the initiative for bringing this narrative, for changing the narrative of a negative story to positive story. And this will take our country to the desired destination.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. That was very insightful. I'm still hearing collaboration across departments. You're collaborating with other lecturers to reduce the burden on your students. I know there are a few academics in the room here, and I'm sure they've picked up a couple of things on how, because that is really the future of journalism, right? You have to catch them young. So I'm hoping I still have a few more minutes. I can't see the MCs right now, so I'll assume I have a few more minutes, so which means I can take a few comments, reflections, questions from the audience. I would take only 2, and each person will have only 2 minutes. First 2 hands I see. Comments? Dr. Laz? Anyone else? Let me just decide who they are. Okay, I don't know your name, sir, but you, definitely. So let's can we get a mic to Dr. Laz real quick?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very insightful conversation. I have a question, and I must say that I'm very glad with the engagement of students at the universities on solutions journalism. And with the progress that's been made, is there any effort or any plan to see if this could be scaled up within, I learned recently that in mass communications it's been broken into different departments or different courses. So is it possible to get it integrated so that it could be a national occurrence where at any level one is learning journalism will be able to get these components, if possible as a course or as a topic within some of the courses? Then on the women who were working on roads, I'm just curious why the local government or some persons were not happy that they were contributing to societal development. Was it that there, is there a kind of follow-up? Are they using the roads to make budgets on an annual basis to take the money? Or I'll be interested to get to know more about that. Thank you very much.
Great. They will respond after I take both questions. Can we get it to the other person?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Osaze.
Hi, Osaze.
Yeah, thank you. I work for Art for Humanity Foundation. I'm just curious, listening to the insightful presentation by all the panelists. Of course, we are bombarded with negative stories, negative headlines. But the negative headline that we see every time, is it as a result of the appetite of the society, or journalists are trained to put out such narrative to get viewers, whether we're just clicking on the link online or having to purchase newspaper. So I would like to know why that is so much what dominates the media space. Thank you.
Thank you, Osaze. So I would let Deji respond to that, but before he does, Uju, do you want to go first?
Yeah, that's
why
fine.
was the local government after these women?
Okay, so the day we spoke to them, they gave us the whole rundown and all of that. Now, the major thing we picked out was something one of them said, the secretary of because they had to create an organization, Able Women. So the secretary said that the day she was accosted, that the tout, she used the word, I don't want to call his name anyway, she said the local government chairman's boy challenged her and said she was taking food from their mouth, meaning that the road had been bad for years. So what they do is during the rains, when traffic is excessively bad, they'll just put a few stones there, put a few bricks, put sticks, so that people can pass. So before you pass, you pay. Right? So they said that the women were stopping them from making an income from that. So that's actually why they had that much backlash, at least from the boys. But from the government, I think it's from a place of, oh, you're trying to put out there that I'm not doing my job, so get out of the way, which they actually did. Because the women had already started the road from the beginning to a very reasonable point. So when they sent them packing, when they threatened them, the government did a little stretch of the road to an extent and stopped. So there was a bit of media and all that. Then he stopped. So the road started deteriorating from where he stopped. Because the quality of what he did and what the women did was not the same. So the road started deteriorating from where he stopped. And they were almost getting to the point of going back to square one before the chiefs now went back to the women to beg them to please come back to the road, and they're currently back now.
So it was actually a case of accountability.
Yes.
We talk about how solutions journalism be
Yes.
very effective accountability tool.
Yes.
And because those women were shaming them, they then decided to do something about it.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. Like I said, wish I had way more time, but thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Falari, what is the plan? From your insights as a lecturer at Crescent University, Ogun State, how do you think solutions journalism can become more of a, what's the right word? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How can it be a part of the curriculum for courses like mass communication?
We should start small. The reality is that there is this heavy pressure on cost development, because virtually all sector of the economy wants its own philosophy integrated into the curriculum. So as a result of this, it's mounting a lot of pressure. But what is needed is for us to get our priority right. And one of the challenges we have, even in the communication sector, is unavailability of communication policy. We understand Tony Momo at a point try as much as possible to develop a communication policy for Nigeria. And as we speak, we don't have any. If we have a communication policy, I think this is one of the first steps that we should take to ensure that we institutionalize concept like this, because it is more important to the Nigerian environment that deserve more reports about developmental issues. So in our communication policy, if we could have the definition of what is our philosophy that drives what we report, and the ideology of the media landscape in Nigeria. That's number one. Number two, Yes, we have been having, unlike what we have before, the curriculum development is top-bottom. Most of the curriculum we find in our tertiary institution for media, for journalism school, tertiary institutions are handed down by a National University Commission, by MBT, the regulatory body in charge of Polytechnic, among others. But now, few months back, the National University Commission changed that particular approach by making it bottom top. We call it, initially the curriculum we use at the tertiary institution level, university, we call it a basic minimum academic standard, that's BMAS. But now, the NUC reviewed that curriculum and we have what we call CCMAS, that's core curriculum minimum academic standard. And this basically will allow individual university to contribute 30% of its curriculum of what it feels will aid local development of the local community, that will improve what we have in our present local community than just what we learn and gain from the NUC or other stakeholders. So as a result of this, what are we doing to ensure that solution journalism scale up? To respond to that question, the advocacy I made, especially even before the NUC came up with unbundling, because unbundling now offer opportunity to even journalism stakeholders, schools, to explore different parts of mass communication. Unlike before that we crowd everything together in mass communication, we now have up to 7 divisions: public relations as a department, advertising as a department, journalism as a department, multimedia, broadcasting. So they will have this comparative advantage to be able to push issues such as solution journalism. For if you are specializing in journalism, you will not be dissuaded or carried away with all other courses. You focus on journalism. If you are in public relations, if you are in broadcasting. So the advocacy I made was there's need to integrate solution journalism into this curriculum. And it has journalism lecturers, educators. I've had position papers forwarded to the NUC. I had position paper published in national newspaper, which many scholars, educators, journalism educators are calling for a general curriculum that will suit this particular one, because we are asked to submit this 30% to NUC. And as a result of this, thanks to Solution Journalism Network, we have rich resources. Every one of us, we can go to the Solution Journalism website, solutionjournalism.org. We refer most of these lecturers there. We have model curriculum. What we started with was to introduce modules into journalism-related courses. Then we start small. We cannot, although we are calling for policy reform, our approach and the proposal was the need for NUC to include solution journalism as part of the 17% because of its nature and importance in the development of the media landscape in Nigeria. So,
thank you.
But we are starting with 30%, and I believe that we are going to scale up this to ensure that all tertiary institutions offering communication and journalism-related courses embrace solution journalism. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing those. 30% is a lot, isn't it? It's not small at all. It's not small. Social journalism can just take up that 30% and we're fine. Yes, please, DG.
So I believe your question was whether the negative headlines are driven by the audience or what journalists are taught. I think it's driven by more. It's driven by social, psychosocial phenomena, because journalism responds to and exists to respond to a hunger for awareness that we all have. And that hunger is where we feed our sense of security, sense of value, sense of fairness, sense of justice from, and how we build our sense of society, even the narrative on our nation. And unfortunately, it's a complex thing to engage with. You want a newspaper to tell you if there's a riot happening at the junction down the road, right? That's might be more important to you now than maybe someone performing just outside the door. So it's part of it. Journalism is responding to the whole gamut that we all need to function as individuals in society. And again, secondly, where the audience might affect that, and you see that in the need to be a little bit clickbaity by some platforms, is our survival instincts are geared towards being more aware of negative than positive. If I see someone jogging towards me you get a side angle, I know that I need to respond to that. Perhaps I'll catch that quickly or quicker than someone waving towards me. So the human nature of survival has a part to play. The dynamics of the society we live in has a part to play. The number of issues that they have to report on, and the climate, the political climate, the leadership climate also has a part to play. But let's also not forget that as journalists, we have a role to play in terms of setting the agenda and creating the kind of baseline of public discourse that we want in the country. And so we shouldn't get carried away by the urgency and sometimes nature of some issues, but we should be able to take a step back and approach it with a more deliberate outcome in mind, which is progress, empowering the citizenry, and enhancing our democracy, which is part of what we want to do as journalists. Because journalism, as important as it is, isn't an end in itself. We are doing this to enhance the way we live, to promote public good, to promote the truth, and to enhance the societies we live in. So this is something to keep in mind as we continue to engage. Thank you.
Wow. I feel like we should just end there. I wanted to do a quick recap, but that was a really good place to end. So we've talked about the future of impactful journalism and the role of solutions journalism in that. We talked about how the currency of newsrooms is their audience and is a need to actively engage communities and their audiences. We heard how Kiss FM was telling stories with their audience, with their community. We talked about the communication policy and how it can be useful. But in the meantime, universities, academia has 30% to play around with and should look towards incorporating solutions journalism into that. We talked about bottom-up advocacy, talked about how important it is to collaborate across departments, across genres, across news types, news beats, newsrooms. Collaboration is key, because when we all work together, then we can achieve everything that Digi just said, which is like the aim of all of this. So thank you so much. You've been a great audience. Please help me appreciate my panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts as they go back to their seats. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please put your hands together for Vivian and Rona. That's what I've been trying to say since, but the mic didn't let me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the panelists. This was an insightful panel section. We also want to acknowledge those that have joined us online. We're very happy that you guys are part of this event. And if there are any questions, please, the social media team should kindly take note of those questions and we'll address them on the next panel. The next activity we're going to be doing now involves everybody. We have an exhibition outside. and we all would have to go outside to the right, slightly to the right, and explore all of this. Some, not all, because we don't have space to display all of them. Tomorrow we have a bigger venue when we'll be doing the other aspect of this event. We'll be able to see all of the stories all at once. But right now, there are some displayed outside, and we want everybody to step outside to just explore those stories. Thank you very much as you do so. Okay, for some of the authors of, if any of the author of the stories outside is around, please stand next to your story in case anybody has a question to ask. Thank you. And we'll be back in the next 20 minutes. We'll be back inside in the next 20 minutes. So.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Please, let's settle down. If you're outside, it's a good time to come back in now. Thank you all. Let's settle down. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So I'd like to know what your experience was like looking at those stories outside. Who wants to share? Did you see any unique story that caught your attention? Anybody? Yes, sir. Do you want to come forward, please?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ogene Obodo. The story that really caught my attention was the library story in the slum in Ajegule. I had one-on-one discussion with the writer, and it was amazing because from the explanation, he said the lady was trained to be an educator outside the country. And when she comes back, she engaged with her immediate community in trying to solve educational relation issues, so that when they went there, they saw a lot of students. When they are coming back from the school, they have to stop over. The place is just a small shop, but at least it was able to address a situation. No, he was not telling me another story that was not documented there about Monkey Village, a place where the distance between the slum and civilization, sorry to use that word, but the distance between the slum and civilization is just a 3 to 4 minute drop. You come down from the bridge, under the bridge is a slum, while on top of the bridge is people living in a lot of whatever they want. Like the houses there are okay, but under the bridge is such a situation, because I shared an experience too of a community they call Gabon community in Enugu, where every day they see aeroplane landing. Behind the international airport is the community, but this same community lack a lot of access, no hospital, no school, no water, no sanitation facility, but behind them, like in their fronts, they see plane landing, they see a lot of people, they see everything they want to see, but they don't have access. So that's what I say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other person who wants to share a significant story that stands out for you? Did we look out for the stories outside? All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. There is a story about a youth-led initiative. It started on, like the writer let me know, it started on Facebook, on WhatsApp, and moving on to Twitter. What actually captivated my attention about the story is that I view Twitter as a place that's with a lot of distraction, and Twitter space, especially when there's an issue or there's a news in the morning, by evening you'll be seeing subsidy removals, Twitter space, this media organization. However, this youth is like I see it like a therapy session whereby people share what they face in daily lives as a Nigerian, and through it they started making they started giving support to people, both financially, emotionally, and in whatever way the person needs. So the story is really a good one, and is a really nice Sujo story from my own opinion.
Thank you very much. So we're really glad that you related with those stories, and of course we hope that there will be more stories that tell the true state of things, the positive stories in our communities and beyond. We're moving on now to have our second fireside chat. And at this session, we'll be looking at putting Sojo to work, experience sharing with some participants. To lead this fireside chat, please help me make welcome the editor, Nigeria Health Watch, Betty Baye. Please put your hands together for her.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So did anybody notice that during the first fireside chat, all the panelists told their stories through the solutions journalism lens? Did anybody notice that? I mean, I loved how they talked about the problem and then the response, and then there was evidence, and then there were limitations. That was really great. Anyway, I'm here to moderate the discussion I've actually been looking forward to. And to start off, please help me welcome Seun Dorojaye. Seun. Seun. Hi. So, Seun is the founder of Social Voices, a startup publication with a strong focus on solutions reporting. She participated in the first cohort of the Solutions Journalism Africa Fellowship. Her platform is one of the support newsrooms commissioning young and established journalists to write and publish social stories for the project. Her platform also participated in the third newsroom cohort of the project, and they have published over 25 social stories for the project. Please put your hands together for them. My next guest is Alex Ogbodo. Alex, please put your hands together for him. You're welcome, Alex. Alex Ogbodo is the head of news at Dream FM Enugu, an influential news platform in eastern Nigeria. He was one of the nominees that represented his newsroom in the second cohort of the project. Following his training in Abuja and taking the message of Sojo back to Enugu, he received a fully funded opportunity by the U.S. consulate to cover the U.S. midterm elections in November 2022. Please put your hands together for him. Next, I'd like to call Obazi Ota Ude. He prefers to be called Ota. You're welcome, Ota. Ota is the head of news and current affairs unit at Sparkling FM Calabar. They participated in the first cohort where we delivered their training via Zoom. His story on open defecation led to some communities in the states developing new strategies to tackle open defecation. Due to their performance, they were selected as one of the beacon newsrooms to do more Sojo stories, and they have also established a dedicated Sojo program. Please put your hands together for Sparkling FM. And finally, I'd like to welcome Ismail Abdulaziz. Please put your hands together for him. You're welcome. Ismail Abdulaziz is a senior editor at News Agency of Nigeria and also a nominee in the first newsroom cohort of the project. When they completed their engagement, they set up a dedicated Sojo desk to continue reporting Sojo stories. They were the first newsroom to do this. This also led to their being added to the Beacon newsroom program, and they have had outstanding outputs. To try and sustain the practice, they also took steps to add Sojo as a line item in their budget document for the 2023 national budget. Please put your hands together for them. Once again, you're welcome, everyone.
Okay.
So, you four represent a group of people I particularly admire, I must say, because I have been a mentor in the Sojo project from inception, and I have had what you might call a front row seat, to what I term the evolution of solutions journalism in Nigeria. So it's been an enlightening experience, to see how different journalists actually approach, the solutions journalism concept. For some of them, it is, oh yay, this is new, I really want to learn more about it. And then for some others, it is like, what is this? You people want us to hold hands and sing Kumbaya instead of doing serious journalism. You get what I mean? So first, I'd like to ask all of you here, what was it like for you to learn about solutions journalism for the first time? Yes, please, you can.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So to answer your question, it was really like, it was a light bulb moment. I got the opportunity to be part of the training organized by the Solutions Journalism Network. At the time, I was a journalist with the International Center for Investigative Reporting, and I was covering a lot of SGBV stories. And for people who do this kind of reporting, you meet victims who tell you stories that literally break your heart, and you still have to come back to the newsroom and do the report. So attending the training and finding out about the solutions journalism storytelling approach was sort of what gave me hope to carry on to tell those stories, because it felt like these victims were trusting me with their stories, and they were sort of expecting that I come up with a solution or find a way to help them. So after the training, it made sense to want to use that storytelling approach to show them that, oh, it is possible to get help. And this is the standard or the quality of help that you can get if you are plugged to maybe if you're in the right community or in the right network. So for me, it was just about finding a way to provide some sort of relief or succor for the victims. And that's why I got really interested in solutions.
So for you, it was the fact that through these responses, you could provide hope to victims.
Yes, and show them how people were actually working to solve the problem that they could never have thought they would come out of.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. How about you, Alex? What was it like?
Well, thank you for the question. I think when I came for the training, I think it was April last year, one of the first things I discovered was that it looked like, for the longest, we've been walking on a one-way street, the way we've done the journalism. You found people singing songs of lamentation, always complaining about what the government isn't doing well. And for me, that wasn't really solving the problem. Yeah. What it simply does was to just make the situation worse. Because every day people call into your program or even call you privately to talk about problems. I've had someone in my estate who pleaded with me to talk about a problem they were having. Well, with the sense of calling out government. But what solutions journalism provided was that even if you're going to call out someone, you wouldn't actually appear like an indictment. You're going to lay it bare. You're going to see how it's working, what is not working, and how it can work. And for me, I latched onto the part of how things can work, because at the end of the day, you're going to do some stock taking when you're packaging a solution story. There's always a point where you do an inquiry on why some things are not working. And of course, in the inside part, you can find out why it has worked. And for me, it's very, very fundamental. Comparing notes with places and even individuals or institutions where it has worked also will help you to provide some kind of assurance to your people that it's not all molten magma and brimstone that is coming out of the airwaves everywhere. I think that journalists must really know that their job gives them an opportunity to be the people that can pacify. For instance, the fuel subsidy problem, I think that also the way it was reported was part of the problem.
Okay.
And so, because if you look at it, you are reacting to the things you're seeing in the media. Perhaps if the media took a different direction in reporting it, even the filling stations that were locking up might also have a rethink in there. I think, for me, I see the cup as half full and not half empty. And that's the approach I've given the journalism these days.
Awesome. Half full and not half empty. But let me ask you. So, you used to report that fire and brimstone and we're all going to be destroyed kind of reporting. So was it easy for you to get into, to begin to practice sojo? Or was there a time where you floundered and thought, is this what we want to do?
I guess that sojo was a wow moment for me because it provided an opportunity for me to step out often. I've been a studio person almost all through my career. So the sojo experience also threw me out to the field. And I started having first-hand experience of some of the things that I used to just read about in the news. So one of the fundamental things is that when you are close to the experience, when you are close to the action, it affects the way you package the story, other than just being the one who gets to read the script. I mean, if you've gone to a place where people don't have water to drink, the way you will write that story will be different because you have a shared humanity with the people who are struggling for clean water. And Enugu has got a water problem, for instance, and I can relate to that. I know how much I've spent buying water in the last 8 years. I mean, if you put the money together and give to someone, the person can do a Thanksgiving in church. So at the end of the day, it's about knowing that the story you are going to do can actually help people. Not necessarily about calling out the people who are not doing their jobs, but in just bringing it out there without making it look like you are EFCC or ICPC.
Yeah.
You can actually help people get some good results.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alex. Before you answer Otta, so a quick story about Otta. In March this year, we took the Sojo Gospel to Calabar. We had a meet and greet with some journalists in Calabar. And we had this session where we asked everybody to introduce themselves and how they got to hear about the meet and greet. And almost everybody was saying, well, not almost everybody, but more than half were saying, I heard from Otamendi. Otta invited me. Otta invited me. Otta invited me. And we had to give him a special thank you for that. Otta, answering the question, what was it about Sojo that drew you in? And was it seamless, or did you, like I asked, did you have a time when you struggled with the idea of telling stories through a solutions lens?
Thank you so much, Betty. To me, Sojo is a life-changing opportunity for me. Because it changed the narrative. It's like adding a new spice to a particular food you've been eating before. We know we've always had this point of view where we see the negative side of a story to be the story that sells. Let me just give an example. I did a story about the Cross River State Water Board. They've been giving us very good and healthy water. On a particular day, I don't know what happened, I opened my tap and I saw a very awful kind of water gushing out of my tap, and immediately I did a story. And that story caused a lot of panic that so many persons were calling me and all that. And by then I didn't have the experience as a solutions journalist. So one thing I will always want to advise is not just to stop a particular story you see. You need to take your time, do a rigorous investigation, ask 1 or 2 questions before you do, because if you go immediately to start doing that, you might cause panic and it might even cost a life. So to me, I think it's a blessing for me to be part of the Solutions Journalism Network, and I really want to thank the Nigerian Health Watch for this opportunity given to me, because it has also changed me as a person, how I relate with my immediate community. I play football very well, and I also hold a position in my club. Before I got into solutions journalism, there are ways I react to things because you deal with different kind of persons. And maybe if there's an issue, immediately I start stabbing the issue. But immediately I gain this knowledge from solutions journalism. The way I handle things became very differently. So I don't see solutions journalism to just the normal reportage you do. You could also apply it to your home if you're married. the way you associate with your wife. For example, I have a friend that tells me that anytime he gets his wife angry, when he's coming back, he gets soya. That's solutions journalism. Instead of you coming back home and causing problem, all you just need to do is just to package your soya. Once you come, you say, darling, see soya or flex. And the wife smiles, and problems don't finish that time. So thank you so much to Sojo.
Thank you, Otta. So Otta has shared a very salient point. If you are married and you you can apply solutions journalism to issues at home. Thank you, Ismail. So can you tell me too, what was it about solutions journalism that drew you in?
Actually, the first contact with solution journalism was like, how do I say it, a déjà vu. It's like something you've been waiting for. We do interact with colleagues on how to write stories that will not put you in trouble professionally, how to put it across to people and it will be accepted. And like we are government agencies, they say no, we're always for government. So getting solution journalism now coming and making you feel you are holding government accountable without the normal negative aspect of making them feel like you are hitting at them. Presenting the fact and even giving examples of how to solve problems they may have the solution to, but are not willing. But now you are presenting on how they will solve it and any challenge that they have. This how it's been solved somewhere. I think solution journalism assisted us. And secondly, I think from our colleagues, the junior ones, when they come and said, okay, I want to write this particular story, but how do I go about it without offending sensibilities? I say, why? Solution journalism style is something you can present and everybody will be happy. So I think that's what solution journalism has done for us. We're able to upscale our experiences, the way we write stories, because it's like, okay, I want to talk about the problems that Nigeria have, just like other journalists do, but then I will go further by telling the stories of those that have solved these problems and showing how others can replicate such solutions to the problems. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to stay with you for a bit. Was there anything about solutions journalism that surprised you the first time you encountered it?
Well,
particularly practicing it in your context?
In our context, well, you know, we had an extended story writing, which is the features in our organizations. It's writing more details about the story or event. But then the solution journalism just gave us something new. Now you are going to see and talk to people that are impacted by particular problems and how it benefited them and how they are satisfied with the solution provided and how they are sustaining that solutions to the problems. So I think solution journalism really did a lot because it's like you're hungering for something and it just provided with you with a system you can follow. Because these 4 pillars are particular systems you can follow to do what you want to do professionally without any bias or getting people to feel what you are reporting is not to their biddings, kind of. Thank you.
So that one thing that stood out for you was the fact that solutions journalism provided you with a system that you can follow.
Yes, the 4 pillars, I think they are very core to everything we want to do about journalism and getting people to stay with us and getting people to believe in what we write. Thank you.
Thank you so much. How about you, Sharon? What is that one thing that stood out for you, that surprised you about solutions journalism? It doesn't always have to be good, though.
Okay, first I want to agree with him. The structure of Sojo reporting, the 4 pillars, is a bit surprising because as a journalist or a reporter, there are fundamental rules that generally guide journalism. You know, you hear things like you have to be objective, you have to be factual, and for the storytelling, they even say show, don't tell. But for Sojo, you carry on those same rules, but then there's a bit of structure. But for me, what is really surprising, and probably what I really like about Sojo and reporting, doing Sojo stories, is the fact that even failed responses are maybe even more powerful than, you know, responses that are working. So yeah, for me, it's how people can tell stories about how something has failed. And if you look at it critically, those are the kind of stories that can actually inform policies, because you see the challenges, you see how it failed, and you see how anyone else can pick it up, especially maybe the government, and adopt it or scale up and leave out the mistakes or, you know, the controversies that surround that response or its implementation. So yeah.
I find that very, very interesting how failed responses can actually drive policies. Can you share one example for you of how integrating Sojo into your practice has impacted you as a person, your organization, or even your community?
Okay. So first, I want to correct what you said earlier. With the support of Nigeria Health Watch, we've actually done over 50 stories.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, thank you, Nigeria Health Watch.
And thank you.
And yeah, so to answer your question, the impact, I'll give 2 examples. Okay. That's okay. One good example is how some of our stories have been recognized and awarded. For example, we did a story on how an organization is using artificial intelligence to link blood donors. And that story won 2 awards, actually. And it couldn't have happened without, you know, putting to practice Sojo and all that we've learned about Sojo. And the other example is how it can actually influence policies. Regular journalism, when you expose corruption, expose wrongdoing in the government, it doesn't tell the whole story, and it doesn't paint quite a clear picture as when you tell a story of how people are responding to it, and you take into cognizance the fact that this is the context in which this particular problem exists, and this is how they are solving it. And so one example, one great impact was how we were able to get young journalists pitch stories that matter to them. So you see students in schools, and they interact with their communities and find localized responses to challenges that seem like the government would never be able to solve. Mm-hmm. And those stories made all the difference and the impact that we were looking at.
But how did this impact the young people's ability to tell stories?
Okay.
How did your engaging with them impact their ability to tell these stories?
Okay, first, the adoption of the storytelling approach was and fast. But the main thing is we saw how students would push themselves to actually tell stories using the solution lens. A lot of times, people just want to put out stuff that would, you know, maybe clickbaity stuff, things that people would just rush click, stuff that can easily go viral. But then getting the students to understand that it is more important to tell the whole story than to expose any corruption or any wrongdoing. That sets you apart, and that makes all the difference, right? And so that's the impact that really got us going. That's what helped us.
Thank you. Alex, Sean kept talking about telling the whole story. And when we preach the solutions journalism gospel, we talk about telling the whole story. Yeah. What was it in telling the whole story that surprised you the most?
I'll actually try to say that you don't necessarily have to tell the whole story. I'll give you an instance. When you look at a typical solutions journalism story, the headline should actually tell you that there was some kind of intention in coming up with the headline. The headline would not aim at being sensational. But I'll give you an instance. When I finished the solutions journalism training, my newsroom, we haven't even done a story before I got the opportunity to travel to the US. So I think maybe that point didn't go home. It was just, I attended a function like this, and I was talking about how journalists can be a little more positive. So, talking about that, I haven't even gone to the brass tacks of applying the 4 pillars. At that point, I haven't applied the 4 pillars. I just merely talked about how good it will be if my colleagues, because it was a journalistic gathering, how instead of always saying that the government is not doing well, can we actually just signpost the things that are working and also point to the path on how the government can correct what's not working. So by merely having conversations, how we coin those conversations, how we talk to each other about the problems of Nigeria can actually help us either increase our blood pressure or reduce it. And if you are able to reduce somebody's blood pressure just by having a conversation with him, imagine what would happen when you start writing stories that can help them reduce their blood pressure. I think that's a solution side. For me, the whole story is when you do those bits and pieces of things that will come together to provide some kind of assuring bounds that when people look at this story, they won't end up saying, when will this end in this country? They will have something to cling on to, even if it's a ray of hope, that light at the end of the tunnel. For me, I keep harping on that path because I believe that people need something to look forward to. A lot of people in this country just want an excuse to tune off. And if we keep overloading our news platforms with stories that are sensational but are always on the harsh side, we're going to be having people who are always on the edge. But when we intentionally look at stories that pay attention to what's happening in the community and how activities of people are helping in that community, because a lot of times when we talk about solutions journalism, it's not we against the government. It's also a searchlight on the society. Community help initiatives can be reported. So people know that there are things they can do to help their communities, and another community can also learn from that. There are very many WhatsApp groups in the country that are raising millions of naira to solve problems. I don't know how much people talk about it. Some of you belong to WhatsApp groups where you've donated money and people got treatments. I don't know people who talk about it. But we're quick to talk about fuel subsidy, how bad it is. So there are pockets of good news and there are pockets of insights that we can share, but because it isn't sensational, it's not going viral, just like she mentioned. People tend to feed on what is going viral, but the lasting effect on all of us isn't great. So on that, I believe that the bits and pieces will need to be good so that the whole story will be perfect.
Thank you, thank you. So focusing on those bits and pieces that lower your blood pressure and make you feel good. Otta, can you share, I know you have quite a number of examples. Can you share one example of how integrating Sojo into your practice has impacted your organization?
Okay, I would have loved to another part that would have been more inspiring.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't want to share an experience that just has to do with my organization, but that has to do with the people.
Please go
because
ahead.
whatever I'm doing for the people. I'm not doing just for my organization because the people makes the organization. So I want to make a comparison between three things: malaria, HIV and AIDS, and open defecation. If I throw a question now, which of these ailments will you love to have? Or what? I know many persons will say, no, God forbid, no, HIV, no. Let me manage open defecation or malaria. And why am I saying this? The government gives a lot of aid to HIV treatment and the rest. The government also do a lot when it comes to malaria. But the difference between malaria and HIV is that HIV treatment is free, but malaria treatment is not free. Then when we come to open defecation, many persons might just look at open defecation. It's a normal thing that happens everywhere, but we don't know the implication of open defecation. Sojo has opened the eyes of many persons in Cross River State, particularly in Abi local government area, and precisely in Adadama and Ebom community. Now, there have been a lot of disaster when it has to do with open defecation in Cross River State, most especially the central part of Cross River State. Why? Because the state, that part of the central part of Cross River State has a lot of water. And so many persons find it very comfortable to go to the river to defecate instead of maybe having their own personal toilet. They never knew that this was causing a lot of problems for them. We record a number of deaths and the rest. Recently, about 4 months ago, we had a cholera outbreak that killed almost 60 persons in the space of just 5 days, almost 60 persons. I did a story on open defecation, just like a normal sojo story, but I never knew that that would change the life of so many persons in that community. They adopted the community total sanitation approach, whereby every household should own a toilet and in no cost. Just go to the bush, get maybe a little stick and all that, dig a hole, cement the place. At most, you might not even spend up to 5,000 naira constructing a toilet. And that went a whole lot. It did a whole lot for the community because it reduced the death rate among youths in that very community, children between the ages of 0 to 5 years also. So this very issue of open defecation is not something we should just look at as a normal thing. It's something that the government attention needs to really go much into. But government is not really doing much. But with the story I did, now almost all the communities in the central part of Cross River State, after Adadama was being triggered, and they are now 100% open defecation free. Another neighboring community, which is a Mikwo, that has been
motivated your organization to set it up?
Yes, I think out of the training we got from the Nigeria Health Watch, we were able to learn the fact that if there's any good thing you are supposed to do, you're supposed to get the buy-in of a lot of your colleagues, including the management. The Sojo training was an eye-opener for us, and I think we realized that yes, we cannot do it alone. Out of over 500 journalists that we have across the country, only 3 of us were given the chance, and we said no, we should be able to let it go around. So we got the buy-in of management, and they gave us all the support, and that is actually what helped us to further get the buy-in of others. Sorry, I'm lost. I actually want to speak of how this impacted me personally. And one thing about solution journalism is that, yes, we are able to speak with other colleagues about ways of writing stories. And we have young journalists that are just coming up and finding it funny in the way we just say, we report he said, they said, this one added and he stressed. They were hungering for something more in touch with them, something they can feel, something they can see and know that they are actually reporting the truth. And the course, the training we had gave us the insight to give them how to go about it. In my organization, I think that helped a lot. We have very efficient staff that wanted something new. We're able to get them to be doing it up, and with all the training we got, we were able to mentor them, made them, the stories they write, out of the ordinary stories, we do follow-ups. Okay, this is the story you write. Can you do something further? And I think it inspired them to do more stories and to be more in-depth even in the ordinary stories they write. They want to put something extra. And secondly, it changes the pattern of the questions they ask, because it gives them a different perspective from just listening to what he's saying and say, okay, yes, I'm just going to, the whole job is done when he says this is what he has done, without actually asking him if this is true, or how to, or they want to find out if what he said is the truth, not just him organizing press conference and then they go back to the newsroom and write what he said. From our stories, we have a lot of clients across the country. People start getting interested in what are we doing about this solution journalism. From my colleagues, since I went around, I've been in Kano, I've been in Bauchi, I've been in Niger. I belong to the Nigeria Union of Journalists. Some of my colleagues called to say, okay, we hear you are doing this SOJO, solution journalism. And we read the stories and we've been talking about it in our newsrooms. Can you help us to come and train some of our colleagues? I had an invite from the NUJ MENA chapter, Niger State here. So last 2 weeks ago, I was there and I did some briefing, just little things, and I got a lot of feedbacks. Most of them, out of their willingness, they set up a WhatsApp group where they interact with me, and we're still on it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to know that so many of your colleagues are interested in learning about solutions journalism. But what advice would you give colleagues still sitting on the fence as far as solutions journalism practice is concerned? You know, as your final remarks, what would you say to them to get them to come on the other side of the fence and get off the fence?
Yeah, they have only one choice. Like our colleague have said, the lecturer from Ogun State, he said that you belong to the left or you belong to the right. And then sometimes the scale may turn. I think the scale now is more on solution-focused stories. So if you decide to stay there, where we've been, where what we've been taught, to just report and report what he said without questioning what he said, and you feel satisfied, the solution journalism will rise up and you will fall down. So it's better, how do they say, to join the bandwagon of being people-oriented and providing opportunities for those that are solving problems, even no matter how little it is. Nigeria may have up to, the numbers of Nigerians may be more than 200 million. But if you have someone that solved the problem for just 50 persons in Nigeria, that's what we do tell people, that go for that story, go for such stories and let people know.
So your advice would be to go for people-oriented stories, stories that solve problems.
Yes, madam.
All right.
Thank you.
Otta, what would your advice be to colleagues who are still sitting on the fence as far as solutions journalism is concerned? What would you say to them to get them to practice solutions journalism?
Well, my advice for them is that it's a program worth embracing. If it can't change your reportorial skills, it will change your own personal life on how you view things. So you choose now. Do you want to change your reportorial skills or you want to change your personal life? So it's up to them, but I'll advise them to embrace it.
All right, thank you. How about you, Alex?
I think that in addition to that, it's also nice for journalists who have opportunity to get solutions journalism training to also learn how to pitch the advantages to their bosses. I think that's very important, because if you're going to get involved in solutions journalism, it will mean that at some point that your editorial style might take a tweaking. So if you're going to do that, you need to explain to your boss why this is important. My boss is here, the general manager of Prime and Power Media, Dream FM owners. He's been very supportive, Mr. Kodo. The moment we explained to him this is what we want to do, he gave his support. And even, I can tell for sure that my newsroom has, received remarkable improvement because of the approach. Solutions journalism approach enables you to be more detailed. In fact, the shortest solution journalism story we did was about 4 minutes. So I think the longest one is about 6 minutes, going to 7 minutes. But a typical special report on radio will go for 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. So you see that you need to bring them on board if you must get into solutions journalism. You can't crash into the editorial policy saying that you went for training. So everything needs to be properly explained. And by way of advice, just be open with whatever it is you want to do with your bosses so that you don't get into the fact that my boss doesn't like me.
So they should learn to pitch the practice to their bosses and follow through and just try and convince them. How about you, Sean? What would you advise?
Mine is really more of a nudging. First, we can all agree that the world is changing really fast, and so are the audiences, right? Recent digital news report shows that there is increasing news avoidance. People are staying away from the news because it is too negative and it is impacting them as well and their lives. So, yeah, for those sitting on the fence, at this point, the audience is really begging for different relevant content that they can use to better their lives or improve their challenges or address their challenges and improve their lives and that of the community they stay in. And then maybe, if I'm allowed, I can correct a widespread misconception. From the trainings I've attended and facilitated, a lot of journalists think that solutions journalism is this new branch of journalism that is like a call on to you to avoid how you do your reporting, avoid investigation, avoid the investigative reporting, and just talk about positives. But it really isn't. I believe that Sojo is a storytelling approach that forces you as a reporter to look at issues maybe more critically, because if you use a solution lens to look at a problem, you see why that problem exists. You see the context in which it exists. You see how it affects people, even deeper than when you just focus on the problem or when you are exposing corruption, right? You can see the core of the issue, and that helps you to understand the problem better, and it helps you to measure the impact. So when we talk about the 4 pillars, and I'm saying this because we've been privileged to edit a lot of stories and publish stories, right? A lot of people think that evidence is just show numbers or data or just quotes and experts. But it's really, if you don't understand the problem, and if you don't use a solutions lens to look at the problem, you're not able to measure the impact of the response. So for you to even do Sojo at all, you need to dwell in the problem. So that when you understand that, oh, this is, for example, a response to female genital mutilation in northern Nigeria, or maybe in the Maasai culture in Kenya, you see how they are addressing these problems, and it tells you, oh, over here, this is why this problem exists, and over there, it's a right to womanhood. If you don't get caught, you're not. I'm giving basic examples, but I hope I'm painting a clear picture. Yes, so how a problem exists, how we manifest in a country, in a state, in a community, can be very different. And that's where your reporting lies. That's the investigative aspect of Sojo. And this is, like I said, adopt Sojo not because we're saying it's positive news, people want to hear something different, but because how are we going to even understand the challenges we're facing as a people in the country if we're not using a different lens to view it? Yeah.
Thank you. I think that is a good place to end this panel discussion. Adopt Sojo not because it makes you feel good, but because it helps you look at problems critically. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much once again. Please, a round of applause for this panel. Thank you. So quickly we'll watch another video that shows the impact of solutions journalism. Just a short video. Let's see that video quickly. Media.
My name is Buki Monley. I'm the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the News Agency of Nigeria, NAN. First and foremost, I would like to thank our partner, the Nigeria Health Watch, for seeing it wise to partner with us, and I'm sure it won't regret it forever. Before now, we've been practicing solutions journalism, but it is it's more focused now. We participated in the first instance by being trained to be more focused. You know, sometimes you may think that you know it, but when somebody introduces an idea, you know that, oh, we are now better informed. We've been better informed through the training we have received. When we started, there wasn't too much challenge because the media landscape was not as, I won't say rowdy, it wasn't as expansive as it is now. So there were not too many challenges. But that notwithstanding, we ensured because as we were competing, so we were not just letting down our curve at all. We were doing it as if we were competing with other agencies. But because we wanted to be the best, especially in Africa, and without mincing words, we are one of the best in Africa.
And there's been quite some changes in the media landscape. We started the multimedia issue of including video and pictures in our text as far back as 2010, I think. And we started even the audio. I know the first one was a hit when we went to Cairo. When we were able to satisfy our text and radio client. It was a hit. But we had some logistic issues, and we discussed with the Nigeria Health Watch, which they were quickly able to say, yes, why don't you go ahead? We're going to support you. And before you know it, we're giving 4 desktop that even our engineering here were superb. We thank the Nigeria Health Watch for that. And an office was immediately provided by the manager, and that, yes, let's find an office anyhow. Let's start it. Let's not say, okay, we must find something very lavish to do. Let's just get a place where you can be. And then we started it off. An office was provided. And that very Monday, the office was provided. We got in touch with our office in Lagos. It's a major office, just the way Abuja is. We got 6 people from Lagos who were trained.
Sojo has impacted me a lot because when we started, I mean, we just do the routine journalism. You cover stories, there are bad things up and down, but solution journalism brings another angle to it. People actually providing solutions, and then we have to cover these stories, and then people have been impressed. I mean, it's really impacting on others. and also on me as a journalist. It's great news that NAN has a solutions journalism desk, and now we can train so many people. I mean, NAN is the largest agency in the whole of Africa. So having people in offices in 36 states and other countries of the world, we have started already training. So this is going to go beyond Abuja. It's in Lagos, it's in all the states and outside. So we have a large crowd of people now to train. So we're going to get more solutions-driven, solutions journalism story in our media space.
Thank you very much. So as we round up, I'll call Chibike to come present. We have an award and he'll be leading that section.
All right, thank you so much, everyone, and thanks for the patience and really indulging us to share and learn since morning. The video you just saw obviously is from NAN, and really celebrates them, the ownership, how they took ownership, how they supported us really, because it's also a two-way thing. The DG 100% buying into it. They were the first, to be honest, when we seeded the idea of, look, beyond the stories, can you think about making it a part of your newsroom? They were the first to key into that. We actually use them as examples for other people and to say, look, Nan did this, can you try and do it? So they were the ones to first buy into that, have a dedicated solution journalism reporting desk. And to be honest, I think the one that really blew us off was them taking a step, to make it sustainable, to even get it into the budget. So when you prepare what you need for the year and you send to the National Assembly for approval, they actually took the step to, in a way, to sustain it, because of course you need funding. Good journalism needs funding. So they added it as a budget item to send to the National Assembly. Of course, the whole back and forth with that. I think it was given a different name. I don't know what stage it is now, but that step alone is really, for us, what we want this to be about. Like I said earlier, it's about making it a part of the organization. So on that note, we want to present a little award. It's just an award of recognition from Nigeria Health Watch, from the network, to really say thank you, and to also use it as a way to encourage other colleagues to not see this as a project, see this as a way of reporting, as a way of life, really, to look beyond the headlines, the problems, and look out for people who are addressing these issues. So thank you so much, Nan. Please, Mr. Ismail, if you come, the DG is not here to accept. Or yes, and your team, any other person from NAM, please, if you could come up. Nobody to hand me the award, so I'll go pick it up myself. So I'll call Vivian Ihekwazu, MD Nigeria Health Watch, and Rona Maya, the Africa Initiative Manager, to do us the honors of handing over the award. It doesn't come with money, so you don't start billing them. But yeah, thank you so much. So as that is happening, please, all the newsrooms, we have... Huh? Oh, like award.
They take a picture to reflect.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Fine. Take your plastic.
So we can use them.
Because it's still covered here. It's fine.
Oh, it's
It's fine. It's good. Yeah?
Yeah. Right. So as they do that, we want all the newsrooms. We want the newsrooms from cohort 2 and 3 who have been part of this project to please get ready, one representative from each organization, to pick up your certificates of participation. So my director of programs and editor, Betty Baye, will be handling that. Kemi Sola and Betty, please, as this is over, as this is getting done, please. So Human Good Media. Human Good Media, team from Human Good Media, your certificate of participation. So as they are coming up, legit news. Oh, sorry. So we'll do it very fast. Hand over, take the picture. Legit news, Daily Times. Okay. Legit. Daily Times, get set. Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Kiss FM Abuja. Yes. No, I mean. One by one. We say one person. Which one is that? But I'm okay. Yes, person. So what am I doing? That's what you said, yeah. So that's why. So we're here. ICIR. Do you have anyone from ICIR, International Center for Investigative Reporting? As they are coming, FRCN, get ready, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. Kiss FM. ICIR. FRCN, get set. Okay. FRCN. Social Voices. Social Voices. Voices Social. The Guardian, get set. Guardian. Kaftan TV, get set. Kaftan, okay. NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. NTA, get set. NTA, not seeing anyone standing. Okay. Okay. NTA. Nobody. Heritage FM, over it, get set. Heritage FM. Okay. Yeah, they are here. Next. No NTA, no rep from NTA for now. Prime Progress, please get set. Middle. Prime Progress, get set. Diamond FM, Elisha. Okay? It's the team that made it happen. Betty was their mentor, proud mentor. Diamond FM. Hot FM, Abuja, please get set. Hot FM. Arewa Radio. Last but not the least, Arewa Radio.
Please, let's put our hands together for all the recognitions. Well done, everybody. It's been a great day, right? Have you had a good time today? Yeah, I'm only getting the vibes from here. Have we had a good day today? All right, very good. So to give us the closing remarks, there is lunch afterward. To give us the closing remarks, please help me welcome the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Nigeria Health Watch, Ms. Bahu El Hamza. Please let's keep clapping as it comes up stage.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to stand on the existing protocol. Today marks a significant moment for all of us as we meet to reflect on social advocacy and practice in Nigeria. So to start with, I would want us to please give a big round of applause to the organizers for putting out such an amazing event today. My name is Ms. Bahu El Hamza. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator of Nigerian Health Watch. Before joining the Nigerian Health Watch, I also was a fellow of the Sojo Africa Initiative. That's to say, I have experience, first-hand experience, so to say, practicing and also advocating for Sojo in some part of the country. And I'm glad to be here. It's an honor and privilege to give this closing remark today. So we have heard and seen outside some few excellent examples of Sojo stories today. The experience of journalists, editors, as well as newsrooms in practicing and telling Sojo stories. And of course, the impact these stories have been making in spurring positive changes in our communities around Nigeria. We've listened during the two panel sessions to testimonies of how telling the whole story, yes, we call it the whole story because it's a rigorous process, how the whole story is making the existing journalism in Nigeria more accurate and more complete. But not only that, it is also inspiring, telling inspiring stories that are increasingly having more audience engagement, as mentioned by one of the panelists, Mr. Deji. We're grateful to Solutions Journalism Network, who without their support, wouldn't be having this conversation today, not only here, but in the entire African continent. Thanks to Rona Maya, who is here with us, the Sojo Africa Initiative Manager, for your unrelenting support, even from afar. Thank you so much, ma'am. A huge thanks to Vivian Ahikazu for her leadership, our MD at the Nigerian Health Watch, and to my entire colleagues of Nigerian Health Watch for this an awesome event today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is at this juncture that I will humbly request that we please give a standing ovation for no one but the one and only pilot, the Grand Commander of Sojo in Nigeria, Mr. Chibike Alaboso. Please, a round of applause for Chibike. Where is he? Oh, he stepped out. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, everyone. We may return our seats. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. There he is with his beautiful family. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chibike, for you and your entire team. We acknowledge your unwavering dedication and hard work in ensuring that Sojo practice enters the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, not only in our newsrooms, but even in the academia, the universities. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to thank each and every one of you. Your presence here demonstrates your commitment and belief that the predominant theory of change, pointing out only social problems, is not sufficient. We need to tell solution stories. As we depart from here today, let us all carry forward the lessons we've learned, the inspirations we've gained, and the connections we've made. I believe there was also a good networking, all in the name of spreading the Sojo gospel in Nigeria. I thank you very much for coming today. Thank you.
Wow, what a way to close the event today, right?
Yeah.
That was a powerful speech. Let's carry on the lessons learned and the networks that have been made. So it's a good time to ask you again if you know the name of the person seated beside you. Have you met them? Do you know their names? Have you exchanged phone numbers? How are you collaborating beyond today? Oh, look at that. You didn't know who was seated beside you now, did you? Ask for their names, exchange cards, ask for their phone numbers, what they do, how you can collaborate after now. All right, we can keep the collaborations going on while we're having lunch. Please, important information, item 7. Item 7 is important information. Okay. So let's continue with the networking over lunch. And lunch is served at Odudu Grill Restaurant. So you have your tickets. If you don't, please speak to the table outside and you will get yours.
Okay, the fellows and journalists amongst us, you're asked to pick up your hard copy. That's the hard copies of your certificates from the decks outside. And for those whose stories were exhibited, we would also want you to stand by your story while Jackson will take a picture of you. Yeah, so. And also tomorrow, tomorrow, this doesn't end today. Like tomorrow we're going to party hard. I don't know about you, but we're going hard tomorrow. So please, let's all come out tomorrow, please. What are we putting on tomorrow?
So you got a bag when you got in here today. Did you get a bag? If you open that bag, there's something inside. What is in it? That's what you're wearing when you're coming tomorrow with your jeans and sneakers and come to have a nice time. So please check that t-shirt. I hope and pray it's in your size. If it's not, find a way to adjust it accordingly. Time is 2 p.m. tomorrow, and we're meeting at the BMT. Please listen, there is a change in venue. I will wait for the room to quieten down. I'll wait for some quiet in the room. I am still waiting for some quiet in the room. I am waiting for some quiet in the room. Thank you. We have a change in venue for tomorrow, so I need you to pay attention. Don't go to the old venue. The new venue is the BMT Africa Garden. BMT Africa Garden. That's the venue tomorrow, and we're convening at 2 p.m. with your t-shirt, your jeans, and come ready to have a good time.
Yeah.
I look forward more to see the women that she spoke about today, fixing the roads.
Yes,
I hear they'll be there tomorrow. I can't wait to celebrate them and to celebrate with all of you. Remember that lunch, pardon me? BMT Africa Garden. BMT Africa Garden. I live in Lagos, ladies and gentlemen. So at this
if
rate,
you put that on the map,
Google is your friend. Yeah. Google map. What?
Wuse 2.
Yeah. 155 Ademola Adetokubo Crescent, Wuse 2. That's it. Next to the Swiss Embassy. Just type that in your map and it gets you there, all right? So before we leave, my name is Wemimo Adewuni. I know you did not ask to meet me, but you're going to meet me by force because I have the microphone. I love to call myself a retired journalist, but I can't help myself. I'm a media trainer, currently on a media break after 12 years, core media work. And I teach diction and public speaking and also train journalists at the moment. It's really nice to meet all of you, and I look forward to a great time tomorrow.
And I am Michael Atima. It's been a pleasure having all of you here. Thank you so much. See you all tomorrow.
Health communication and advocacy organization that seeks to advocate for better healthcare for all Nigerians.